Morning, everybody.
Everybody. Oh.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floormeister Studios. Floormeisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Friday, and it's not just any Friday. It's around our 5,000th show Friday. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. We don't celebrate much. We feel our job is to entertain and inform you, not to pat ourselves on the back. Besides, we get so much wrong, I think it'd come off silly if we constantly patted ourselves on the back. But
constantly, if we ever did. I mean, we take enough grief on a regular basis for crying out loud.
But on July 24th, 2006, we walked down a hallway into an asbestos closet, as we referred to it. It looked very much like a hallway at the end of the school basement where you would head to go find some piping and stuff would be falling off the piping. That was our asbestos closet of a studio, and Miller and Moulton was born. We were each doing a show solo. Mark in the morning, myself in the afternoon. And Mark is the creator of this show. It was Fat Tuesday, which I think was in March, and Mark was
February. February.
It was probably February, my bad, yeah, right.
I think, I'm not positive what Easter was that year, but I think it would have been February.
Okay, and I'm on location at Pincher's Crab Shack in Bonita Springs.
Locations from Tampa to Key West, in case you were wondering.
Right. Well, that's why I said Bonita. People know where they are in relation to Bonita.
I'm just giving a little plug for the sponsor.
I'm sorry, I missed it, which I'm doing a lot these days. Which we would also do 20 years ago with Mark in the morning and me in the afternoon. And the station was, chugging along, but nobody was committed to the format. We were on an AM. Nobody cared about us. I mean, when they were out selling us, they didn't even know our names half the time. And so we would occasionally call into the other show, okay, if we hit on a good topic and just were, hey, I'm interested. I'd like to keep this topic going. Because as Mark has referred to in the past, Mark did an all NBA show during the off season one year. And I literally canceled my sales call, drove into the station, ran down the hallway, and stuck my head in the door during a break to say, how the hell did you just do this?
Because I got calls. I mean, it wasn't just me on my own. Right. People were interested. And Dave, and to this day, we don't do a lot of NBA because we know our audience has told us they're largely not interested. Right. And at that time, we had a great friend of the show, if you will, who worked for the NBC and ABC affiliate in town. And we could get, at the drop of a dime, the local TV ratings. He would literally email us the Monday morning. On Mondays, he would email us the TV ratings from the weekend so you could see what the NHL game did, what the NBA game did. And we knew football was king. We weren't worried about that. What we were always trying to figure out is, how much is hockey doing versus the NBA? Because the rest of the country, hockey wasn't doing squat. Well, in our little neck of the woods, Hockey did really well, and basketball, stunk compared to the nation.
And so it's Fat Tuesday, and I'm doing a show and got on a side, way, if you will, and got on a show about, you don't have fat athletes anymore. It's Fat Tuesday. Who should be celebrating Fat Tuesday with us right now? Okay. And so once this was when, okay, now a couple calls, I had somebody come up for the restaurant and they came in, they just walked in off the street, pulled over, walked in and, Mickey Lolich. I'm like, there you go. And Mark, he told me his sales day was done. Maybe he just used it as an excuse. He was near the studio and he went, hell.
Yeah, we had to be back. At that time, you had to be back in the office at 4:00.
Yeah.
If you did sales, you had to come back every day unless you were at budget. And let's be honest, they set David and I up to fail there. We didn't have good accounts. We had to work our tails off on the sales side. And we're doing separate shows. And so I walked in, David's on location, and you could actually credit David and John even more than me here, because I walked in, I handed John Cassio, who was David's producer, a piece of paper with 3 names written on it. Because I'm in my car and I'm laughing my tail off. I just thought the whole premise was funny. And people are calling in and they're giving athletes, and David's telling a story or two about that athlete. And it's just good radio. It's just easy, fun radio.
Lighthearted day.
Yeah. And it's funny because people are making fun of fat athletes. And that's back. We can fat shame and not get in trouble.
Right.
And we fat shame ourselves. So, we're fat. So we didn't care. And I handed John a list with 3 names. And John looked at me because he's got the headsets on and his mic's on and he's talking back and forth with David. And he just points and says, sit down.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm kind of waving him off because you didn't really go on. A cardinal rule in this business is, one, you don't give the microphone up. Like when you're doing a stand-up interview on TV, and every once in a while, you'll still see this, whether it's local news. The guy from Scotland did it to the reporter, I want to say in Miami, when he dropped 2 F-bombs on the air. He took the microphone. She's doing a stand-up on local news, and he took the microphone. You will fight. You are basically told to fight to the death if someone tries to take your microphone.
Well, absolutely. I would fight to the death. I don't know if I'd fight to the death to protect myself, but if you try to take my camera away from me, to the death now.
So I hand John this note, and John's like, sit down. And I'm kind of like, no. And he's like, emphatically, sit down. Because John said, hey, Mark just stopped in, gave these names. And David had told him they were on a break, maybe. Have him sit down and do this. And and we end up doing an hour on fat athletes. And I laughed. It was funny. I had a great time. And it was at that moment, I always wanted to do a show with David. I never really had the guts to tell him that. But that moment, I'm like, this can work. There was never, at that moment, I was like, we can do a show. And I don't think I ever said anything.
Well, and what's funny is I didn't know until just now, I didn't realize that, you wanted to do a show. Okay. So the way I remember it, that show's over. We run into each other, I think later that day. I think Mark came down to Pinchers, caught me right as the show was ending. And he looks at me and he goes, that was really good radio. And I go, oh, glad you liked it. And we just talked for a little bit, what have you. We were friendly. When Mark worked with the hockey team, we always hung together and had beers. Okay. And we're at a bar restaurant, for goodness sake. So we hung together. And then I just kind of wandered for a couple of weeks. And I just walked up to him out of the blue. He was walking into the building from outside. And I said, hey, turn around. I got to talk to you about something. And we go out, and I had talked to a couple of people around the building in which I just said, what do you think about if Mark and I did a show? And I went to John Ross, who was our program director, technically. Okay. And I said, what do you think? And he compared us to another local show. And he said, but I think you'd be better because neither one of you would hold punches. Okay. And sometimes one of the guys on that show, he thought pulled punches and kept a good show, and it was a very good show, but he thought it kept them from being great. And John just kind of looked at me and said, I think you guys would be, he said, I think you guys have the potential to be really good. And I went, huh. And so I went down the hall, and Mark was walking in. I said, hey, walk outside. I got to talk to you about something. And I said, what do you say we do a show together? And he grins, big grin. And then, wow, interesting, and obviously changed our days. And then he stops and goes, what are we going to call it? And the look on his face was like, well, this is it. This is the issue that's going to define whether this happens. And I looked at him. The Rolodex starts moving through my big forehead. Mark can see it. I look at him and go, well, Moulton and Miller just doesn't have any ring to it at all. Moulton, midway through it just stops you. Miller flows. So, plus you were in mornings, I was in afternoons. Why don't we just go Miller and Moulton? And Mark goes, okay.
And I knew I had thought about this at length, and I knew in my head that sounded better. But when you're talking with the other guy, and I've said this for years, from a sports standpoint, David carries the show. I've always told people when they say, what's the show like? I said, well, David's the smart guy and I'm the smart ass. And that's how I've described us to people for years, to friends of mine who ask what I do, who don't listen, or from other parts of the country. And when I catch up with people, like, what are you doing now? And that's what I would always say. And they would laugh because they knew I was a smart ass. But I knew Miller and Moulton sounded better than Moulton and Miller. But you can't in the first 30 seconds put your name first. You got to let the other guy do it. And David says that, and I went, yeah, I think it kind of does too.
And that was exactly what he said. I think it does sound better too. But you've been here longer, and I go, the hell with that. Whatever works.
And that was that. And as David has said, he looked at me at that point. He goes, anything else? I'm like, yep, one thing.
And let me tell you.
And I said, this is kind of a deal breaker, David. Because David did a show, and I think he did it annually because he'd been on for a couple of years. And he would let listeners, and they would volunteer over the course of a couple, 3 weeks to be the general manager of their favorite team. And David would then have a listener draft. And while the Fat Tuesday show I thought was phenomenal radio, I thought the worst show in the history of radio was David's listener draft. They're trading Warren Sapp for 2 first round. It was this make-believe world of things that would never happen. And I like David's show because David's show was about things that could happen. And I said, we can't do the listener draft. And he said, really? I said, no, we can't. He goes, all right, done. And at that, Miller and Moulton was born.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to CapeCops.com. CapeCops.com. Be brave, be best.
Be Cape. Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
This
sound.
is Miller and Moulton.
Oh God. I mean, Daily Boog Powell was, I think, one I brought to the show. Mickey Lolich, obviously. Gosh, that's so long ago. I mean, it's literally over 20 years ago. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night. We in the football thing with you, because you had fat linemen then. You could talk. I mean, the linemen now are all in shape. You had
Right. Like, remember, back then, Nate Newton was considered a fat lineman.
I'm trying to, I mean, there were a few, Stadler. Yeah, the cesspool. Definitely Cecil. Definitely Cecil was brought up.
Mo Vaughn, I think.
I mean, there were a decent amount of pitchers. If you think about it, there were some hefty knuckleballers out there. The Rick Ruschels of the world.
Yeah, the Wilbur Woods of the day. But it was just like, would you trade it all away to be Joe Borowski?
It was his birthday yesterday, I think, David. Or
was it really?
I think Tuesday. I think it was Tuesday. It was
Golly.
Tuesday. It was Tuesday it was not his birthday. It was wasn't his birthday. He wore 48 or 49, one of the numbers that we did. Or whatever you weren't, because I laughed because I was going through the best whatevers, and I'm like, oh man, I go Joe Borowski. That's the crux of one of David's best shows. Pat stayed on because Trent had to leave yesterday. He had a family emergency. So Pat stayed on for the hour. And I felt guilty. I went into the 9 o'clock hour and I'm like, I did the whole thing with Pat. I didn't mention the Bucks or the Jags. Not once.
Well, there's a lot of subject matter in that league.
Well, we did the first segment on all the new offensive coordinators and what that brings to the table, if you know what I mean. Because there's like 17 new OCs. I mean, that's remarkable. By the way, Patrick Kane stole from the Blackhawks. 2 years, $8 million per. Are you kidding me? He's 160.
They sure did. Forget the sentimentality and all that, but the Kane camp said, without so-and-so injured for the first 2 months of the year, you may have a ticket sale problem.
Got 20 seconds to chew.
It was a big bite, too.
Well, just letting you know.
Thank you.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. It's a 20th anniversary show. We've worked for 5 different people. We've worked for 4 different stations, not including the stations that we're now thrilled to be broadcasting on outside the 239. And what started on a Monday in July in 2006, here it is 20 years later. Thrilled to be with you. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Gary Danielson scheduled to join us in a couple hours or so.
We'll have a couple of our old producers on next hour. John Cassio will join us at 7 o'clock, and somehow, some way, I feel he will turn the segment into a John Cassio segment because, well, that's what he did while producing our show for years.
Mm-hmm.
Felipe Alvarez, who was a producer for a while and would fall asleep during the show, I said, can you be awake at 7:21? And he said, yes. We will see if he answers the bell. Jeff Cameron, who covers Florida State and has been a great friend of the show for many years, will join us. Roy Cummings, who's been with us, with David before I joined with him. So Roy's literally been coming on the air with one of us for over 20 years. Seth Everett said, I'm coming on. Seth called me yesterday and says, what time do you want me to come on? I'm like, we don't really need. He says, no. I don't care whether you need me. I'm coming on to wish you guys congratulations for 20 years.
He's become the reverse of Pat Kerwin, who used to book himself on the show until when we wanted to book him on the show. And then he said, no, I'm going to come on here. Huh.
And Pat threatened yesterday to call in today. He said flat out, I may call and offer my congratulations. So Pat was with us yesterday for a whole hour. And then, as David said, Gary Danielson will join us. So we'll have a lot of fun today. Some good text here, David. He says, ask David to tell the story when he walked off a live remote when the equipment failed multiple times. I can picture him peeling off that blank and going back into the black 770 van.
Well,
I would say which time.
Right. And I would say to you, Mark, is your last speeding ticket the one that you got when we were supposed to be live from a golf tournament and the equipment didn't work? And then we both looked at our watch, knew we're about 5 minutes behind schedule if we're going to be able to hit that studio on time. And we were like, go. And we were both in our, were you in the van and I was in my own car?
No, I think we were both in our own cars. I think we didn't, because we didn't bring the van there. We would just set up because there was no need. So I think we were both in our own cars, and I didn't get a ticket, but I got pulled over about 3 miles from the stadium, or from the station rather, and he let me go. He actually knew who we were, but he took his time.
Right, unfortunately. No, appreciate. Hey, I'm glad you listened and like the show. That's great. You know what time it starts, though, right?
Looking for an escort here is what I really need. I don't need a ticket.
Right.
What I need is an escort.
It would be fantastic if you could get the sirens going and it would pretend to let the people in the building know how special I am. That would be great. How much can I give you? How much memorabilia do you want? Do you want $50 in gift certificates?
You know what I needed? An SEC on CBS hat. Cops love those, apparently.
Listen, we could, in any state that we were in, okay, we could literally crash the Capitol, okay, if we had about 5 SEC on CBS hats while we were walking up the stairs to the Capitol building. And if we could just turn around and go, here, we're on official business. We'd be fine. I swear we'd walk right to the governor's office in any state in the South.
When I tagged along with David there was a weekend that David was doing Alabama and LSU in Baton Rouge, and then Monday Night Football was in New Orleans, Rams and Saints. And that was Sunday. Sorry, that was the Sunday 425 game.
Right. So the one Saturday night and the one Sunday 425.
So I get to tag along, and we leave the game, and it's, Gary, and are we Vern then still, or are we Brad? I think we're Vern still, right? No, we're Brad. We're Brad. We're Brad. I think it was one of the first years of Brad. So you got Vern, or you got Brad, you got Gary, you got whoever the sideline girl is there at that time. I think Allie's doing it at that time. And the producer, director, all the bigwigs. And here's Miller in the back. And they were all great to me. They really and truly, all of them were very nice. And it was amazing for me to see, because the escort you get out of these stadiums is presidential. And I'm not joking. So you've got all these people, and it wasn't as bad coming out of Tiger Stadium because LSU got smacked. It was not a game. Alabama dominated, killed them in the second half. So traffic was not as bad as normal, but that didn't matter. We have got a full-on motorcade. And I'm talking probably 10 motorcycles and a few cop cars. We're driving the wrong way down roads.
We are. They're
blocking traffic. And the whole point is so that we can get to the hotel in time to have a drink. And that's really the end of it. And on top of that, they've got a room for all these guys so they don't have to sit at the bar with John Q. Public. Because the reason I remember it was Nestler's that Brad stayed up there for a little bit and had a couple cocktails, and I listened to Brad tell stories for a little bit. But you want to talk about guys who have, I don't want to say have everything, but they have a lot. The Garys and the Brad Nestlers and Allie and these producers and directors, they've done big time TV for a while. So you would think, being on the outside, that not much impresses them anymore. You know what impresses them? A motorcade running the wrong way on traffic, because you're the producer, the director there, Steve.
That's the producer. Oh, yes, he is the director. Steve, just retired.
He thinks this is the great. He's got the systems going. He loved it. I mean, absolutely loved it. And I am trying to use my phone and film it without any of them seeing what I'm doing, because it's spectacular.
Now,
what's spectacular is how much the motorcade loved it. The police escort are having a ball because they get to do something different.
I asked Steve Moulton, who, by the way, directs the Masters.
Right.
Okay. And I asked him one time, final round at Augusta, motorcade back from Tiger Stadium to the Hilton. He said, normal Masters, motorcade. He goes, but, if it's Jack, if it's Tiger, if it's one of those, he goes, well, let me tell you. And like Steve asked for the front seat. Okay, he's like a 14-year-old kid going to see the airplanes for the first time. Yeah. Yep. And we found out, it was at LSU one time, they went on the sidewalks to get us back to the hotel. I think we had like the president of CBS Sports there, Sean McManus. So we just were like, listen, whatever you could do. Okay.
Yep, that's right. Because we had him that day too, because he was going to the highway and going directly to New Orleans. That's right. That's right. He was there also.
Making a left and cutting back around to a big U-turn. Right. Up on the sidewalks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is just to get back to the hotel from a college football game. And Mark, as you mentioned, it was 10-0. I mean, it was a shutout for 3 quarters, and then Alabama beat them 10-0. I don't think they had 100 yards of offense, and that was it. So the fans, thank goodness they lost, okay, because they just pulled aside. Otherwise, they wouldn't have pulled aside on the sidewalk. The fans would have given us that extra row on the street. But that sidewalk's theirs, unless Sean McManus is in town and has to get to the airport.
One of my highlights off air with Miller, probably my highlight that weekend was special. Not just the 2 games, but I made David go to a really nice restaurant in New Orleans and order food, which is always a thrill. Miller and Moulton. I think we're going to do the starting 5 next.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332516.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Shimko, Mark and I were never tight with DA. We knew him. Our kind of paths crossed a few times when FGCU won their 2 games and became Dunk City. DA was hosting an overnight show in New York, and he had me on. He had me on one other time. But he's, I think, co-hosting Afternoon Drive in New York on the CBS Sports Network. But well, thank you guys for listening. Wouldn't have a show without you. I mean, Mark and I could do 20, 30 minutes a day on speakerphone while we walk around the house and get things done, but it wouldn't be quite the same.
I missed a foul ball from City of Palm Stadium. Manny Ramirez hit a screamer, hook and foul, and I tried to one-hand it. God, that stung like a son of a bitch.
Yep. We thought we were safe down the left field line there at Old City of Palms Park, but au contraire, mon frere. Yeah, I do sound a little better today. That's who knows?
No, Felipe is coming on for one reason and one reason only. He's aware of it. Yes, he was. He still has it. I talked to him 2 days ago. And he says every time, because he got so mad at me when I told him he was so proud of that car. And it was a graduation gift from his grandparents. And he was so proud of having that car. And he loved it, and he still loves his car. And I said, I feel like I like your car. I go, but it's a chick car. And he was so mad at me. And so we're talking yesterday, and he goes, I go, still got the car, Phil? He goes, oh, yeah. And he basically has a work car all the time. He's doing fine, and he has a work car, and they have a gas card for the work car. He goes, I drive my car twice a week, maybe. And he goes, I said, he goes, yep. He goes, but it sits there in the driveway. It looks good. He said, every time I see one and I look and I see a girl driving, I think of you. And he goes, and that's 90%. He goes, when I see a guy driving, when I get fired up, I'm like, Philly, I still to this day, every time I pass, when I look and see who's driving. He told me that was a while back we were talking, and he said, because he was with the girl for quite a while, and they've broken up, and he said he was on a date or whatever, and the girl said that was her dream car. And I'm like, God, that's great.
Well, you come back to my house, honey, I'll make your dreams come true. Hoo-ah!
Why the hell is this taking so long to post?
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till the top of the hour. Today's the 20th anniversary of Miller and Moulton being formed and doing a show together. 20 years ago today. Man. If we get people thinking back, to like what their life was, their career was, I'm curious how many people will look back fondly and how many people will go, oh, man.
I think some of my favorites, however, are, that would scare the hell out of me because, it could just be a show of disappointments, quite like Miller and Moulton. But what I think I don't know, most proud wouldn't be right, but the thing that really makes me happy is when I hear from people who listen now who were actually in the car with Dad.
Right.
And whether Dad's gone now or Dad's still listening, those are the ones that are special to me.
Well, like some of the athletes who are fortunate enough that obviously they've had a pretty good life, but their kids are growing up healthy because like somebody ran a video the other day of father, who's now grandfather catching ceremonial first pitch from his son. And now that son just went behind the plate and caught a ceremonial first pitch, from his son. And you just go, man, how unlikely is that? How remarkable is that? So,
speaking of first pitches, and I'll bring this up shortly with our next guest as long as he comes in. David, how many first pitches have you thrown?
3.
That's 3 more than I have. And I will never get invited to throw one with the current minor league team in the market that we're in because, well, I've abused the name of that team, and I don't know if I would accept it now unless they went back to miracle jerseys for the one game that I threw the pitch.
Why wouldn't you accept it?
Because they look like vaginas.
I understand that. But if you've pointed that out, and I'm sure they're not happy that you've pointed and shared your opinion to everyone, but if they decided anyway to, hey, we got 71 of these suckers a year, it's kind of like you finding anthem singers with the hockey team. I mean, when you need that many dates filled, you had 36 plus dates. You throw it a couple of preseason games. Sometimes you never mind when you have to go to the playoffs. You could have to find 4 anthem singers along the season.
Yep. No, there's no doubt. But I don't know how, with how much I've disparaged that franchise and their logo and what a bad choice that was and the company that did it, I don't know if they would invite me. But neither here nor there. When they were the Miracle, they invited us to a game. And they asked whether or not you or I wanted to throw out the first pitch. You were out of town. In fact, they asked if one of us would do it, and John lied, I believe, and said neither of us did, and he threw out the first pitch. Yep. Our producer stepped in front of the people whose names were on the show.
So weigh that versus every major league team has an affiliate night at some point during the season. And the Tampa Bay Rays,
that's right,
had affiliate night. And I will say, for those that live in Charlotte County and South, okay, the Tampa teams, they'd always go back and forth. Are they trying to kiss our butt and really get 20 more people interested, or are we just trying to placate a boss? Well, this was one of those years when they were really trying to get an extra 20 people to pay attention to us or what have you. And this is almost 20 years ago.
Yep.
Because Dwight Howard had just been drafted. And apparently the Tampa Bay Rays were trying to make nice with all the radio stations who carried their games in Charlotte County, Sarasota County, Lee County, blah, blah, blah. Even Collier County. Although a lot of the Fort Myers stations also list themselves as Fort Myers, Naples. Anyway, we were invited as a station to have a night. We were an affiliate. It was our night. And our producer just sold us on, we get to go on the field pregame and, get some Rays stuff. Until all of a sudden, John Cassio gets walked out to in front of the mound and gets to do the first pitch because he told them the same story that he told the single A baseball team.
That's right.
In Fort Myers.
Yep.
And so Miller and Moulton look at one another like, did this really just happen again?
Yep.
And this was after the single A thing. I would have been fine, by the way, if, he pulled a fast one on us. Okay. He got his night throwing out the first ball when 179 people were in attendance. Fine. Okay. But, there's going to be 7,739 that are going. It's a major league game. There are cameras rolling. That's Dwayne's stats right up there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And John is there with the glove on.
Representing Miller and Moulton. Representing who the hell are Miller and Moulton? And what? And neither one of them could make it here? That's what I'd be like if I worked for the Rays. Well, who the hell's Miller and Moulton? And what? Neither one of them can take the night off and come here and throw out the pitch? I mean, at least make him disclose his lie, because I wouldn't let anybody represent Miller and Moulton and throw out the first pitch. It'd be like, no, free night out, free food, drink, some stuff for the car to take home to people who may like it. Who's this guy again? He's not Miller or Moulton. That's all you need to know. And I would have been fine if you got chosen. Okay, like they say, well, we only let one guy go out there, so you got to choose between the two. And Mark, I literally would have said, well, you've never done it before, so you do it. And I would just say, whatever you do, aim high. Okay, because the higher you climb up the mound, the lower the ball will be, because you will bring that front leg down, your shoulder will follow, and you will bounce that sucker. Best advice I ever was given: take a little off the pitch, aim for the catcher's head. Worked every time. So if any of you are out there, don't say Miller and Moulton's never done anything for you. We just told you how to handle throwing out the first pitch at a ball game. Want to jam in a starting five?
Why not?
The starting five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is the starting five.
So the Raiders made it official. Fernando Mendoza is their starting quarterback. Eventually. 4 years, $57.25 million. So that's before they'd have to add on. There is a 5th year to the deal, but the Raiders have to pick up that option, and they have not done it yet. It's because they have 3 years to still decide if they want them. Tyreek Hill, pretty sobering. Think about where he was in his career and how physically gifted he was. Well, that injury at the very end of that Jets game in week 4, when he tore up his left leg, ACL, MCL. Yeah, he did a video thing 2 nights ago in which he said, I have no power in my left leg at all. I can run very slowly, but they don't even want me doing that. And he said, listen, right now, I don't know if I'm ever going to run again at anything resembling, normal speed. I'm not even talking NFL speed. I mean, Tyreek Hill made it sound as if he'll never play in the NFL again. And even though he's 32 years old, and whether you wanted him on your team or not, think about how much money Tyreek Hill was going to make over the next 3 to 4 years. Even if you think badly about his character, his ability, what have you, think about how much money that injury is going to cost Tyreek Hill. I think minimum 30.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because he was going to get a 2-year deal from someone, and he probably needs the money, because my guess is he's blowing everything he's already made.
Yeah, Drew Rosenhaus is his agent. He's really good at getting deals. I think he could have gotten him a 3rd year, but the 3rd year probably would have been, mutual. But anyway, speaking of the Chiefs, they unveiled renderings of their $3 billion domed stadium. Carolina backer Nick Skirtin, excuse me. Yeah, at practice, first official day of practice. Apparently, part of the field was wet. He fell because of the wet field. He just blew out his right ACL. He was going to be a starting player on their defense. That's a significant injury, because he done for the year. Nick Skirtin. Wow.
Yeah, done for and I said it yesterday on the show. Do you know what matters in preseason and training camp? Injuries. One day into camp, they lose a starter for the year.
Ravens, before their camp officially gets underway, they waived former Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. All right. So obviously his shot at the NFL off to a very tough start. He's somebody, Mark, I think we said it at the time. Shouldn't he go to the UFL?
UFL, CFL, somewhere where he could play. Absolutely.
Baseball, 5 games. Toronto beat the Rays 3-1. Rays with a 2-game lead over the Yankees, 3 in the loss column. Atlanta got 4 home runs, and Chris Sale struck out 11 to pick up his 11th win, 6-5 over Pittsburgh.
Their 3 wins were bizarre. All one-run games, all high-scoring games, and all had a lot of, craziness to them.
Twins beat the Guardians in 12, 3-1. Minnesota, I believe, is the 6th seed in the American League, or is it Seattle? But anyway, it's a team below 500. And the Guardians are 1.5 back, and the Twins are 4.5 back for the division lead. Arizona 10-6 over St. Louis. Mark, your Tigers pulled out a fun little finish.
Yeah, they did. Big win for them with every, the Red Sox right have that 6 spot. So that puts Detroit 4 back. Now there's 4 teams that between them and the Red Sox, but they're going to hold on and they may add now.
As we've seen, one really good week can change everything in baseball this year. And finally, a story that probably deserves a lot more discussion. The Division I College Sports Membership Board is holding firm on its eligibility rules, which allows athletes in 5 seasons over a 5-year period of time, although you have to meet the academic enrollment requirements following your 19th birthday. It's not quite as clean as you'd like, but Congress, by the way, no plans before the November midterms of voting on and passing a bill, which is what college sports really wants, which would grant it antitrust status. And Ted Cruz says, if we don't vote on it and get it passed this fall, it ain't never going to happen. So it looks like it ain't never going to happen. And at 7 minutes before the hour mark, that was Starting 5 big stories you need to know here on Miller and Moulton. John Cassio to be verbally accosted for those 15-year-old transgressions coming up.
We'll see. Verbally accosted, or he may verbally accost us. That you never know how this is going to go, because I've learned one thing about our former producer, that if it's not about John, John's not interested. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now. The Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com, capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofing.com. CoreTechCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Core-Tech and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller & Moulton.
Thanks for all the well wishes. I appreciate that. It's hard right now. It really is.
I don't think he's in the same category. He had good years. I don't think the whole career is good enough to put him in.
Who are we debating here?
Tyreek Hill. He was really good as a receiver for 4 years, 5 years maybe. That ain't enough to me to get you into the Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's what, like 2 with Chiefs, 2 with Dolphins?
Yeah. I mean, he had 3 years where he caught over 100 balls. That's it. He had 2 where he caught right around almost 90. I don't think he is. And even though off-field stuff is not supposed to be a part of the Hall, he's not liked. Someone's got to take up your case and vouch for you. Good luck there.
What organization do you think would be the one to want to represent him?
It's a great question. You know, he had 6 years with Kansas City, 4 with Miami, of which it would have to be Kansas City, David.
Okay.
There he is.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, got you good. Look at that. It's like John in the car.
Oh, my God. Is that good? No, I see the steering wheel. That's a lot better right there.
That's good. Look at you with the school shirt on, even though your kids don't go there anymore.
Oh my God, you can see it.
I saw the Pine Woods. You got to understand. I mean, that was the other school. That's where all the that's the school with the hot moms.
Yes, it is. I miss it very much.
That's a car line right there.
Because the new one is like going to Harry Potter world.
By the way, if you think he doesn't say that in front of his wife, you're wrong.
Here we go, boys.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this anniversary. 20 years ago today, people at Beasley Broadcasting weren't paying attention, and they put John Cassio on one side of the studio and Miller and Moulton together on the other. And whew, what a book this is going to make when we write it. John Cassio, who has not officially been our producer in over 10 years. Yet we still act as if he's a part of the show. Does he get royalties, Mark? Why is it that we keep including him in like all our discussions?
Well, as we were talking about last segment, with the times that John's thrown out the first pitch on our behalf in both Fort Myers and Tampa, I'm quite certain he's still making appearances on our behalf. I think there's at least one game he goes to a year that he's getting an email in which it's intended for you or I. And John's like, well, they can't go, but I'll take my family to the game.
When you go representing the Miller and Moulton show, who do you say you are, Miller or Moulton?
Cassio.
Exactly.
I just did a remote for you guys at the Oasis, just south of St. Augustine. They had great Bud Light specials. That's so funny. I forgot about the first pitch. That was a good one. I did a really good job on that one.
Yeah, you did. Rays game. I've never thrown one out in my life, John. Never once. Just so you know.
It was Fort Myers Day, right? Wasn't that their big shtick?
Yeah, we were there too, and you told them that we weren't.
Yeah, I just told you guys, hey, wait here. I'll be right back.
Yes. And we stood on the field while they grabbed him and walked him over and said, now just follow the instructions and try not to throw the ball into the stands. And he skips to the mound, and we literally are looking at each other going, what's going on here? Well, he's part of the Miller and Moulton show. We're Miller and Moulton as he's like winding up.
The other story that I had completely forgotten about, and I love the fact that our listeners have such great memories, because yesterday someone texted the show late and I was up doing some work and I saw it, and that was funny. But the one this morning that, John, I don't know if you remember, but you left for vacation for a week and you were up on the Jersey Shore.
And,
oh,
man.
And John,
I know where you're going.
Apparently you'd had a couple drinks and you were walking back to the house that your family had rented. John, where did you go and what did you do?
So I was in Manasquan, New Jersey. I couldn't spell my name. It's John. At that time, no clue. Had no idea.
Mine trying to spell Manasquan.
Right.
Which is like got a U and 4 A's. So
yes, that's all over the place. And we did go out that night and we had a great time. And we come back to the house and somebody had bought fresh baked cookies. And I said, well, I'm in no position to say no to these cookies before bed. None. I'm eating one. And then I realized, I don't know where I'm at. I don't know this kitchen. That's not my house. So I leave. This is just a mistake on my part. I'm sure everybody would be very, very accommodating if I were to say, hey, here's what's going on. Next thing, now you're in your head because you're not in the right mindset to begin with. And so I'm going down the street. At some point, I see what I think is a police car. So I just dive in bushes. And I am...
You're not a small man either.
Right. I am 140 pounds heavier than I am right now. So it was a loud thud into shrubs. And then I said, you know what? This is kind of comfortable. I'm just staying here. And so that's what I did for about an hour. Until I figured out what house I was really supposed to be at.
Right.
Yeah, that's a true story.
But John, for the years that he was a producer and still now has helped us book guests. John is fabulous. In all honesty, part of the reason of the greatness of this show over the years was we had a guest list that was national, and we were just at that time in Fort Myers, and it was remarkable. I mean, we've had Magic Johnson, we've had LeBron James, and these are
just say that again slowly for a show our size. And it even caught John by surprise. He hung up the phone and our show was ending. And he said, guys, if you'll stay about a half hour after the show, I think I just booked us LeBron James. And being all the jokes that John has pulled at our expense, Miller and Moulton looked at one another and said, nah, we're not staying. We're good. Okay.
I believe actually your response was, are you sure he's going to show up? Because I'm not staying if he's not showing up.
And so indeed, I mean, again, we've had LeBron on the show. This isn't the radio row stuff. The radio row stuff, you can kind of walk into some really good guests. But this is Magic Johnson. This is LeBron James. But I do want to ask you what you think your best get for our show was.
Oh, hands down. Hands down, without a question, OJ's manager. Do you remember when we had OJ's manager? Not just the interview. He came in studio. Like we're real ESPN. Like, yeah, can I come to the studio? Yeah, absolutely you can. Your OJ, is he going to be around anywhere? Yep. That was of all our time together, that was the highlight for me. We got press out of that. We got more press out of that than almost anything we've ever done. You guys, I still don't think you fully appreciate how amazing that was.
It's as close as I've come to quitting on air.
Mark was not happy.
Oh, no. That was a negotiation in which I'm like, how about if you just go in the hallway, you sit it out, and, I just say people you went to go get food. Don't worry about it. It's a 4-hour show. It's 10 minutes.
I asked one question. He gave me some BS answer. I turned my back to him. He was to my right. David was to my left. I turned my back and stared at John for the remainder of the interview and left David for dead to have to interview this goofball.
I thought John was going to say Ozzie Smith, which I think is without question the worst interview we ever had. And he's a Hall of Famer. And oh my goodness, Ozzie Smith. He's right in Miller and Moulton's wheelhouse. Right. Total respect for him. And the other thing which was bothersome to the two of us is we have no problem allowing the athlete to plug what they want to plug. In fact, we say, hey, we'll get out of the way in the first 2 minutes. You say what you got to say to appease the guys sitting next to you to make sure that they get their plugs in. Yep. And then we'll talk whatever you want. And we couldn't get Ozzie Smith to stop talking about whatever it was.
Pizza. It was pizza. It was cooking pizza. And at that time, you would have what was called like the rejoiners that says Miller and Moulton back on the air. We'd say, hey, this is Ozzie Smith, and you're listening to Miller and Moulton on AM 770 or whatever the hell it was. So he did that. We taped the interview. The taped interview was so bad, we never ran the interview, but we did use the liner.
That's right. That's right. David, who's the old baseball guy that yelled at you?
Oh, that was Astros play-by-play guy.
Milo Hamilton.
Yes, he was pumping a book.
Oh, man, did he hate you with a passion.
And it was
passion.
But it was all him, though. I didn't ask him. Like, the reason, okay.
Some people just don't like you. You just got to be okay with that.
But usually on the radio, you have to say something to make them hate you. Okay.
Right. You said hello.
I did. And let me tell you, okay, the press box food in Houston must have sucked.
Yeah.
The next person he talked to after leaving the dining room, I think it was me.
Yep.
And at one point, you all have heard me and how we do interviews. Okay, we're very grateful that they take the time to talk to us. We really are. And we ask questions along those lines, unless, of course, you really know us and we really know you, then, we kind of push the rules to the side. But anyway, Deckerhoff.
Oh,
do you remember my question?
He got mad at you, too.
Yeah, he didn't like you either.
He's literally the nicest human being ever until, what did you do, David?
Okay, but I asked him a question saying, hey, it's never good that somebody got injured. But during this 4-game stint without Chris Ricks, I forget who had been filling in for him. Okay, but I said, well, the one thing that the Knowles just found out is, so-and-so can step in at quarterback and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what he thought I said, but he thought I said that it was a good thing that Chris Ricks got hurt.
Yeah,
okay?
And I do think you positioned it just the way you just said it, too. Like, hey, you never want to see anybody get hurt, but...
Right.
But yeah.
Right.
And he was not happy. He was not happy with that question.
No.
Big break there for me, because at that point we're not doing shows together. It allowed my morning show to book Deckerhoff a couple of times.
Yeah, because he wasn't coming back on with David.
Wasn't doing afternoons. And my favorite, though, of all of it, you got John, I don't remember her name, but Bobby Bowden used to come on the show regularly. And that was because you knew his secretary, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
What was her name? Do you remember?
I don't remember her name.
Because she would just yell back for Bobby, right?
She would yell back for Bobby.
Listen, a show our size, okay, and imagine a guest falls through, and we go, oh, man, who can we get to fill in now that we got this hole in the show? John goes, give me a second. He'd always reach and grab his phone, and he'd call Bobby Bowden's office. And she would go, hold on a second. Hey, Bobby. Okay, it's Fort Myer again. Okay, you want to talk to the boys in Fort Myer? Okay, and you would hear Coach Bowden in the background going, yeah, Dion Fort Myers, yeah, I'll talk to him. It was great. We had so-and-so fall through, but who cares? We got Bobby Bowden on a whim.
You make a daggum good point.
John, thanks for doing this. I know you're a key guy these days.
No problem. Got pickleball coming up with Fernando.
Oh, no. I'm not.
So,
you know what?
Very busy morning.
Do you mean Fernando Mendoza? Who are we talking about here?
He's about 70 years old. Has a hell of a serve.
So you're playing. I'm worried you're going to hurt yourself, John. I would wear knee braces. You're not as agile as you think you are.
I mean, Fernando's really taken me under his wing. Like, he's kind of like my pickleball David Moulton. Like, he's really taken to me. He says, I'm good. I'm going to go with it.
I'm a little worried that he's taking you under his wing because he's been dead for over a year and a half. So listen, wherever this event is, tell us about it right now and we'll sell tickets because it's happening.
There is no event unless you want to see me get hurt, like Mark said. Absolutely.
John Cassio, the Laley legend, as they say here on Miller and Moulton.
The Floor Meisters just
Congratulations.
doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time
Oh,
than now to
God.
stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 13325.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Everybody's getting a lot of bonuses these days. I just cut a minute off the commercials, so we ran a little long there, but whatever. I don't care today. So
They're all getting a lot more.
Yes, they are. Oh, thanks, Jay Gunn. That's awesome, man. Appreciate you.
Wow, thank you. Ooh. Mm.
Hell, not only is he playing pickleball, Tim, I believe the wife and 2 kids are as well. It's a whole family thing. I'm on the losing end of this pickleball battle. I am on the winning end of the fact that the people who love it more than those that play are the orthopedic surgeons, because the amount of business they're getting from pickleball injuries is like nothing else. It is like the #1 sport of injuries these days. And think about it. You've got a lot of older people playing it and thinking that they're still playing tennis. And think they can still move as such. Come and see me? Okay. You know I take care of you. Come on. Yeah, I know she got 4 yeses. I watched it, and it's her father her father covered the Blades for years, Michael. Her father worked for the Naples Daily News. Axe, that's a pretty good comparison. We've got a guy in my neighborhood. He's obviously a former hockey player, but he rollerblades around with his stick and ball. I find it hysterical. because you can tell he can skate. Like you could tell he could play, but man, is it funny. There he is. There he is. Look at
What's up, fellas?
Look at that little Miami room there.
Look at this. Come on, we got the Shaq jersey. Here we go. We got Florida Pan. Look at this little hanging championship banner right here.
You are a front runner.
I am a 2-time Stanley Cup champion journalist, is what I am. Thank you very much.
Photojournalist. Come on. Let's come on. Come on. Yeah. You don't have a long sleeve shirt in your closet.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes after the hour. Miller and Moulton. MillerandMoulton.com. Miller_Moulton on X. Jeff Cameron will join the show. He's been a part of our guest family for probably 15 years at least. All right. Roy Cummings will join us. Gary Danielson will join us. And everybody who seemingly produced our show is joining us, including Felipe Alvarez, who is wearing, is that the original Florida Marlins shirt and jersey and coloring?
That is absolutely right. This year on Sundays at home games, the Marlins have teal Sundays, so I'm repping the teal for a baseball team that has now lost 9 straight games.
Yes, they have.
Wow.
And Felipe, first off, thank you for doing this. Congratulations on your career going along very well. You've improved since you left us. I, first off, am incredibly impressed that you were able to do this at 7:21 in the morning, because for the year and a half or so that you worked with us, you were usually asleep at 7:21 in the morning and we were on the air.
Yeah, that is correct. I want to remind everyone in the audience who doesn't know who I am that I joined your show during my senior year of college. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I'm just going to give context to the situation and, maybe explain as to why that may or may not have happened a few times.
I'm not going to use it as an excuse, but I'm going to use it as an excuse.
Context is everything.
Uh-huh. I was just surprised you were to get here so quickly, because I would think the airtime alone, sunlight, I don't know they'd let you out with so many air miles and experience, whether they'd even let you fly the plane, for this gig, to be able to get on it for 7:23 a.m.
So we're talking about flying planes.
Yeah, I mean, for those that, let me give a little context here, because something happened. It was a good, bad, and ugly story or something along those lines, where a pilot was doing a lesson, and he had a medical emergency, passed out, something happened, and the student had to then land the plane and was able to do so safely. And they had been taking pilot lessons for a while, but they hadn't done self-landings yet. So they accomplished that. Everybody's safe, happy ending. And Felipe, without hesitation, says, and I quote, "I could land a plane." And this stems from, I believe, you using a flight simulator once in your life.
Listen, I've always had a love for aviation. I did have a flight simulator system inside of my old, computer with a little joystick. And yeah, I wasn't that impressed. You guys were both like, "That's incredible. Wow." The pilot
Yes. As a matter of fact, we were. We thought when the plane was going to spiral down to our death, and I stood up and said, "I'm Felipe Alvarez. I've come to save the day." And you come in and save the day. Yes, we thought that would have been, pretty impressive. And you were like, not even worth my time. Seriously, you were incredulous that we found it impressive.
Have you ever flown a plane, Felipe?
Never. Not once in my entire
You've had a year and a half. What the hell are you waiting for?
Because believe it or not, I actually was in a small plane when I first moved to Southwest Florida. I'm working for the Everblades hockey team, and we are getting solicited by everybody for different reasons. And there was an ad agency who wanted to be our ad agency. I never hired them. I never used an ad agency. I did everything myself. But the guy's soliciting me, wants to take me out to lunch. I'm never against a free lunch. And he mentions at the free lunch that he is a pilot. And have you ever been up in a small? I'm like, no. He goes, well, would you like to go up? I'm like, absolutely would I like to go up. It's amazing. And so we go up in a small plane from Page Field. I think he rented the plane or whatever. And we go up and take a little cruise around the beach. And as we're flying the plane, he goes, do you want to take the controls? And I said, sure, I would love to take the controls. And we're at around 1,000 feet. And I've got the joystick. And I flew for maybe a minute. It was so damn hard to keep it at 1,000. Like, as I kept climbing, he's like, you can't do that. And you got to let off. And so to me, I flew for 30 seconds. I'm like, this is a lot harder than it's just ain't driving a car. And Felipe you're still convinced right now that if we put you in a single engine plane, that you would be able to land it.
How was the weather that day? Maybe it was just a bad weather day.
Beautiful day.
He won't give up on this. I can't believe you still call him as your NBA source of information. Honestly.
Don't you want someone like me in your life? Someone with the confidence that, yes, I can. Yes, I can do it.
Not around machinery. No. No.
Felipe,
no. You know who I want around my life? Mark Miller. Because we both have the same radar when it comes to things like that, where we both would look at each other and go, yeah, we ain't touching that. Call whoever you got to call.
Guys, it was obviously impressive what the kid did.
Not at the time.
I'm just saying that I feel like I could also do the same thing.
Right.
All right. I do want to ask you, Felipe, because you're a hoop head, and we text throughout the playoffs about different things. I do want to ask you, because right now the Heat are the odds-on favorite to get LeBron back. Whether, it seems like they had the little leak in the PR department, neither here nor there. If they get him back, and it's Bam, Giannis, and LeBron, and I know you look at everything through rose-colored glasses with the Heat. If it were 1989, 1990, I think this is a really good team with three bigs. Do you honestly believe that they're a team that contends in the East? Because we know they're not winning the title. But do you believe that they can actually, with Bam, Giannis, who will play 38 games, LeBron, who doesn't know how to play a whole season, and Bam, who's a good player and young and still healthy, do you think they can actually contend in the East?
This team is a playmaker away from being a championship contender, and by adding LeBron James, you are essentially adding Magic Johnson to this team. So to answer your question, absolutely. And I find it hilarious that now the media is pushing this propaganda that adding LeBron James to the Heat, they still wouldn't be a good team. Yeah, that's hilarious. No, I know I'm looking through these rose-colored glasses, but when you add probably the greatest playmaker in LeBron James to a team with all the athletes that are already on the Heat, like Giannis and Bam,
who's gonna shoot?
Who's going to shoot? Tim Hardaway Jr., baby. Tim Hardaway Jr., Pele Larson, Bobby Portis Jr. Can I interest you in some Bobby Portis? Stretch big, stretch four.
This is hysterical because, Mark, you and I have been doing sports a long time, and mostly that means we listen to other people and we tell you what their opinions are, because their opinions should be thought of highly because they're involved in sports in some way, shape, or form. So I just heard something from Felipe Alvarez, okay, that I don't believe I've ever heard a basketball talking head say before. Do you know what the only thing keeping us away from being a championship contender is? A Tim Hardaway Jr. Okay, that's exactly what you just said.
No, I said a playmaker.
Yeah, and then who did you list as the first playmaker? Tim Hardaway Jr. Once again, we had to do this before we stopped paying you. we had to remind you what you actually said. Okay, before we said you were on your way to stardom. And by the way, Mark, he now thinks he has the greatest job in the world because he has a station paying for his vehicle, paying for his press credentials. Okay, he has everything he's ever wanted in life. He's never going to leave that station.
No, Felipe, have
It's
you
a heck of a job,
actually-
guys. I can't
have
even
you-
deny it.
Have you actually ever once filed for your own press credential, or is someone doing it for you?
No, someone does it for me to answer your
Yes,
question.
and because if it was depended on you, it was never going to get done. That's all we asked of you. We asked two things of you. We asked you to be on time because that would get us on the air. Okay. We didn't ask you to stay awake. We preferred it if you stayed awake, but it wasn't really necessary because Mark could just throw something at the glass, wake you up, you press the button.
I just want to say, you know how they always say you should listen to your parents? I feel like you two were my parents. And now growing up, I realized, oh, that's why they wanted me to sign up for the press credentials. Because now I go to these events and I see people from like the ESPN radio station in West Palm Beach there at the Giannis press conference. And I was like, man, they were right.
Felipe, you're a good young man. Thank you for your time with us. Unfortunately, we got to pay bills. Love you, brother.
Love you very much.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
No, I saved him. I saved Felipe a couple of times. He never knew that. He always thought I was the anti and that David was the pro because David was nice to his face and would look at me and go, "We've got to fire him."
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. I'd say 3 times.
Shimko, it's not even close. There's no one in Brando's league when we set the over-under on questions at 2.5 for a 16-minute interview, it's Brando. We taped Brando once. I had to edit 3 minutes out of the interview.
The funniest answer that he ever gave. We taped it, I think, a year ago. I was in Jersey, and Mark asks him, clearly asks him a question about, I think it was the Big Ten. And he goes on an 11-minute diatribe talking about, oh God, who was the CBS guy who went to the AAC?
Oh, Oresco.
Mike Oresco, and then, others associated with the CBS, and goes on. It had nothing to do. Nothing. Not one person, nothing that he broke up. Had nothing about what Mark asked him about in the question. Here's the other thing that we always love. I've told them many times in advance, Tim, we have 15 minutes because Tim did a talk show. He knows what 15 minutes means. Love him. I mean, the good thing is, hardly says no, but yeah. The last interview we did with Tim, we had the tape and edit out 2/3 of it.
Oh, I like the bolts and the Titleist. Man, looking good, Jeffrey. How are you, sir?
I'm great. What's up, boys? Happy 20th.
Look at the old Bucks helmet behind you, too.
You know, a true story, you're going to be shocked, and I can prove this if you'd like. That is Doug Williams' helmet.
Nice.
I had a friend that worked when they were doing early promotions in the late 70s, early 80s down in Tampa at a gas station, and Doug came in and signed a bunch of stuff, including one of his own helmets. And the guy gave it to me many years later, when he found out I was a huge Bucks fan, and he just gave it to me. So I've had that ever since.
How you doing?
I'm well. Doing all right, David?
I don't know about that.
All right, here we go, boys.
All right.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour, a special day for Miller and Moulton. And to some of the audience in Tampa, St. Pete, maybe, in Jacksonville, Live Oak, Lake City, maybe it's not as special because in your markets, we've only been around for a handful of years. But this for Miller and Moulton is our 20th anniversary. And so we want to have a few people on who have been with us for most, if not all of that time, or have played a very strong role in our show. And one of those who's played a big role in our show and has always remembered us, Jeff Cameron, Warchant.com. Jeff, how the hell are you, buddy?
I am well. Happy 20th, boys. It is a pleasure and an honor to be on with you both.
Well, thank you so much. I will say I had to laugh because if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, you know, I've got my little setup here, and you can tell the difference between a guy who's a pro and me, because you can see bottles of bourbon behind me, and I actually see a printer behind you. There's actually work done there, where here it just looks like in between takes, I take a shot of whiskey.
I rather enjoy your setup better than mine. Good sir. I've been told I should get rid of that printer many moons ago. I'm just too lazy. So yeah, I'll replace it with some scotch.
All right. Well, you may need that scotch this football season because, Jeff, you are a proud alum of Florida State. And this is, we had a poll question on our show. Who's going to win more games, the Dolphins or the Noles?
Oh,
and
wow.
I know that's mean to a Florida State fan because the Dolphins are supposed to be one of the worst teams in the league. And I will at least say our audience was about 2/3 Florida State in that poll question. And the fact that it wasn't, 99-1 tells you where Florida State is right now.
Yeah, no, it'll hurt your feelings. That's a tough one. I don't think the Dolphins will win 5 games. I think the Noles might. So I'll go with Florida State. But it's close, boys. It's close.
I see. If you're watching on, Twitch or YouTube or, man, you saw totally straight face, by the way. Jeff did that answer as now I'm being serious. I'm giving you my real answer on this.
Yeah.
And think about how laughable that is, that I think the Noles might win 5 games.
David, if you look at that schedule, I mean, look, I know it's the ACC, but that's a brutal schedule. Well, first of all, they have Alabama, Florida, and Miami, and Clemson. And that's anybody, any team in the country in any conference. If you have those 4 games, that's hard.
Jeff, Mark went through it and said, folks, don't laugh. They may only be favored 3 times this year.
Yeah, maybe. And SMU will be favored. Alabama will be favored. I think you can go through the road game like Pitt. They'll be favored.
Louisville will be favored, right? Yeah.
Louisville, Clemson. Yeah, you can go on and on. Yeah. No doubt. It's an ugly deal right now. And normally you're so excited. I just got back from Charlotte. I was at the ACC kickoff. I interviewed the players and the coaches, and I talked to all the guys from Florida State. I talked to the Mario Cristobal and the players from Miami and all that stuff. And it's crazy. I've been going to that thing for, 18 years or whatever. And I don't remember a time where I walked into the ballroom at the Hilton downtown Charlotte and there is zero buzz for Florida State. Nobody wants to say a thing about, they're projected 9th, 10th, or 11th in the league. It's the ACC. Good God, guys. Brutal.
What's bothering? Look, and obviously we know Florida State wants to win, and the people there in Tallahassee have got to be just chomping at the bit to be good again. What bothers them more? The fact, because we've always thought that there was a healthy rivalry with the Canes. Sure. They respect the Canes. They don't they don't love them or whatever, but they respect the Canes. They hate the Gators. And the hatred between Florida and Florida State is real. So with Florida getting a new coach or Miami's success, what's bothering the Nole fan more?
I think the shot in the arm that you get with a new coach, and Florida gets to get one every 2-3 years, so they get to experience this uptick in emotion.
There we go. There he is. He's punching back. He's in the corner. He's losing, but he got a big right hand in there. Boom.
And I would say, Mark, about Miami, the Noles got to enjoy 20 years of their irrelevance, which was the last 20 prior to this past season. So, it was exciting for Florida State fans. Now we're on the wrong end of it and have been on the wrong end of it. And there's no denying it. Florida State's awful, and they're listless to boot with very little to believe in right now. I don't think they believe in the athletic director. I don't think they believe in the team, certainly, and they don't believe in the coach. So you're just forced to wear it. I thought at the end of last year when they did nothing after a 5-7 campaign, fresh off a 2-10 campaign, that that they would make a move. They didn't. And so you've just had sort of a listless, lethargic fan base. Florida State's gone in hiding. They didn't do their normal press junket. They didn't do the normal tour with the coach. They didn't do any of that stuff. They've shut out the media. They don't want you to know they exist, guys.
All right. I come from a university that they stink and they look up to Michigan all the time. They've had turmoil because their president left, their AD left. They somehow convinced the president to come back, and they've got a screwy board of regents thing there. But the Florida State president, he just signed a 3-year extension. Does he understand how important football is? Because you can say what you want about the AD, but it's kind of like in the NFL. You need an owner, a GM, and a coach that are all on the same page, and it's nice to have a quarterback. In college football, we now need to have the university president understanding the importance of the football team. Is that the case at Florida State?
If it is, they're not aligned properly. I would say this: the current president has done a great job of lifting Florida State to academic heights that they've never seen. Florida State as a university has grown immensely, but they've done that on the heels of football. They've done that on the back of football. And if he doesn't understand, I'm sure by now he's hearing from many dissatisfied alumni, boosters, and supporters in the community. I think they were in such a bind. Look, they had the undefeated season. They extended the coach when Alabama came calling. They thought for sure they were flying high. They did all the renovations. They built the football-only facility. And then the guy flew the plane into the side of a mountain, and they went 2-10. And you couldn't have had worse luck. You sign that guy after an undefeated season. The snub happens, and obviously people are in shock what plays out afterwards, but they weren't in a hurry to give somebody at that time, $60 million to go away. So they thought they'd ride it out, but I don't know that they realized it was going to get this ugly. And then after those renovations, they won the game against Alabama last year. Everybody thought, oh, okay, it's back on track. Everything will be all right. Well, it's not all right. And so I think internally, Mark, the answer is that they are in disarray. There's a lot of power players who are very frustrated. The sooner they realize that doing nothing is financially more ruinous than actually pulling the trigger, then that will probably help this thing get turned around. But until that happens, no, there's nothing to look forward to right now at Florida State.
Well, and there's no obvious coaching candidate either. Is there? I mean, there's no one for the money people to get behind. Here's the important question. Jeff, I mean, is someone like Sumrall never would have been accepted a generation ago as the replacement for fill in the coach. But he is now after McElwain and, the last couple, 2-3 guys. So they're going to have to get behind somebody, because even if you fire this guy and pay him off, you got to bring somebody in to start winning right away. Is there somebody for the money people to get behind?
I don't think so, but I don't know that coach exists anymore. I mean, Lane Kiffin existed last year in that way, polarizing as he is. There are a couple guys here and there, but the iconoclast coach that we all grew up on, does he exist anymore? Who's that guy? Kirby Smart? Maybe? I mean, I'm not saying Florida State could hire him, but my point is, who's the guy that's the cure-all? It used to be if you had a Steve Spurrier. It used to be if you had a Jimmy Johnson. It used to be if you had a Bobby Bowden. And then later, obviously, Nick Saban, that you brought that guy in. His name alone brought players. His name alone guaranteed success. That guy doesn't exist in today's football. Everybody can pay players. So I don't know that you have to go get that guy. You do have to get the right fit. And that's part of the interview process, and that's figuring out who works in your culture and who doesn't, all of those things. But I don't know that there's a singular guy that they could go grab right now that everybody would go, oh, yeah, well, that's it. We're good. I don't know that coach exists. And I'm not so sure we need to continue to bow down at the altar of the super agent that has all of these coaches, which you know who that is, and pay those guys $10, $11, $12 million in an era of having to pay players. Why are you going to give a coach $12 million a year? I just don't see it.
Hey, is it kind of a blessing in disguise that the Deion thing in Colorado is going so badly? Because a couple of years ago, that was the name that Florida State people wanted. He brought all this juice to Colorado, and to be honest, it's been a disaster. They now are losing season tickets. It's not working. Looking back, is that probably a good thing for Florida State?
Well, and Mark, I'll just tell you, I went on the air every day and told people to wake up that they should never hire Deion Sanders. Deion is about Deion. It was great at Colorado that first year because obviously nobody thought of Colorado. They haven't thought of Colorado in years. Florida State still mattered, still had cachet. You don't have to bring in a publicity stunt. But I think ultimately, yes, his name is no longer mentioned. I used to roll my eyes at that thought anyhow. There was a contingent, though, you're not wrong, that, hey, Deion, look, he's the greatest corner I ever saw play. Great. He's a terrible coach. No.
He's the best returner I ever saw play because I was at Michigan State when he was at Florida State. Yeah. And I'll never forget. I want to say it was 7-3 at the half. He came out. I think he had a pick six, ran a punt back for a touchdown. In the student section where my seats were right by the Florida State bench. And he turned around and kind of put his arms out and said, y'all don't know how to play football. And we hated him. And I've never seen anything like that in person.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. Dion is an amazing freakazoid of an athlete, and I saw him do so many incredible things when I was a kid. And yeah, listen, there's no denying the greatness, the Hall of Fame greatness of Deion Sanders. Dion, the person?
Well, then there's that.
Jeff Cameron, Warchant.com, Warchant.com. Hey, I just take a moment, since obviously we know a little something about sponsorship and advertising to try to stay afloat. So how are things going at Warchant? I mean, boy, these must be.
David's mic got muted somehow, but I will just say this. I know where he was going. Look, it's not great. It's tough. Luckily, I'm an independent contractor. So the Jeff Cameron Show can sell its own, and I don't have to worry about whether or not people are flocking to Warchant. As much as I love my brethren at Warchant, and they pay that licensing fee every month, which is great, but I don't have to worry about it as much. Hey, listen, all the local businesses in Tallahassee are livid. I mean, you talk about the fans being angry. If you're a business owner in this town, which thrives on football, you're a little angry with Mike Norvell, Mike Alford, and Florida State. And I hear from all of them, especially during talks about advertising. So, yes, that's how that works. A lot of frustrated folks around here.
Hey, I want to end at least on a positive on the Knolls. How all the renovations, how much better is it now?
It's awesome.
I've actually never been to Doak. So, there are people say it's not the same. Okay, fine. But is the experience, if they could ever get their together, how much better is the position that Florida State is in now? How much better is it with what they've done?
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. I got to give them high marks for all of that. The football-only facility, by the way, state of the art. I have a buddy who covers Ohio State. He came down over the summer and toured that facility and said this is better than what they have. And I've not been to Ohio State, so I didn't know that. But they've done unbelievable work there, and the stadium is awesome. Now, I'm lucky. I usually sit in some of the good seats, but I will say that I think that updating the concourse the way they did, the stadium's awesome. No, it's awesome. You should come up, Mark. I'll host you. We'll have a good time, buddy. At some point when they don't suck, I'll have you up and we'll go to a game together. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. They did well there. And the basketball program with Luke Laux and Michael Fly are turning the corner. So there's something to look forward to there. But that's about it, guys. That is about it right now.
Jeff Cameron, Warchant.com, kind enough to join us. Hey, you've been good to us for almost 2 decades. And we appreciate that, because there are people like you who begin to climb ladders, rungs on that ladder. When they get to a certain rung, we're below that. And you're not one of those guys.
I don't think you're below that. And we had the mutual benefit of having John Cassio as a producer at SiriusXM. I know he produced your show. You guys are great. I love tuning in when I can. I want to wish you a happy 20th. I know it's been a tough couple of years. But I think you guys are awesome, and I wish you both nothing but the best. I'm honored to be on with you this morning.
Jeff, thank you, man.
Very nice words. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Continued success, my friend. I know we'll talk sooner than later.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Be well.
Jeff Cameron, the Jeff Cameron Show, covers Florida State like nobody's business. Even in the tough times, he tells the truth about the Knolls. Miller and Moulton, another old friend of the show. Roy Cummings, he will join us next. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real. If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Cougar, thank you. I don't think you need 11-6. I got to be honest. You go 10-7, you're going to win the division. Hell, you might win it at 9-8. Good morning, Roy.
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm good, Mark. How are you? Are you really doing well?
Honestly, I am. I'm doing great. I couldn't be doing better.
Prayers answered, my man. Prayers answered.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Been in him every day. You've been in my prayers every single day.
Thank you, my man. I really appreciate it.
You are more than welcome. Wasn't me who did it. Good for you. Great fight.
Yep, it is, and that's what we're doing these days is fighting. But that you were torn. You had to be torn the last couple. I know, but my Tigers took 2 or 3.
Oh, I know. It's tough when they play each other. It really is. It really is for me.
The Tigers needed the 2 or 3 more than the Cubs needed the 2.
Yes, they did, and I'll tell you what. I will be furious if they trade Tarek Skubal. Just furious.
Boy, I'm so torn because obviously, they're not going to re-sign him. He's not staying there. And I don't know if they're good enough to make any kind of a run. But, as David said for a while, unless the Yankees the Yankees are getting Judge back, we think. But without Judge, I don't know who the favorite in the American League is.
Yeah, the Rays, I'll tell you, they're amazing how they just keep finding ways to win. It's pretty incredible. And I'm with you on the Tigers. I don't know if they're good enough, but darn it, one thing I do know is if they don't have Tarek Skubal, they're not going to go anywhere for a long time. I mean, just think if they'd have kept, Verlander all those years, if they'd have kept Scherzer a little longer. I mean, these things, you go back and look at the Nationals. If they'd have kept Soto, Scherzer, come up with some of those when they had them. Sometimes these mistakes, they don't pay off.
Now, the one thing I'll say to the Nats, they offered them $450 million, and they were not going to go where ultimately you would have had to gone. And the haul they got back from the Padres for Soto was the type of haul you need to get back for your star player.
Yeah. That's true.
They did as best as they could, and they offered him $450 when no one else had a contract above $400.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. Can't argue that. But you know what? The money is the money. The stars are the stars, and I just think if you don't hold on to them, you regret it down the road because you don't quite get there.
Well, I will say, because unless you're one or two teams, you can never get your hands on one.
Yeah.
Well, who was it? I just saw, I forgot what pitcher now, but there's a Toronto pitcher that apparently is on the block, and he listed the teams he won't go to. And you look at it, it's like Detroit, Milwaukee. Like, I'm not going to those cities. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And they weren't just the bottom rung teams, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. I'm not sure who that is. It's not Cease, is it?
No, it wasn't Cease. It was another pitcher they had. I just saw it the other day, and he basically listed 7-8 teams on his no trade. And I was like, okay, I mean, I get it that you don't want to necessarily live in Detroit versus, Dallas. I mean, I get the NHL side of it now.
Justin Bieber.
No, it wasn't. I'll find it. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Celebrating our 20th anniversary together on the air, Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our next guest has been coming on wherever we've been broadcasting to before Miller and Moulton got together and did this radio thing. How different was your world in life 20 years ago, Roy Cummings?
Oh my gosh. It was quite different.
If you're going to be in this business, 20 years is beyond a lifetime.
Yeah.
But he has joined us for that long, and we welcome him back. He comes on to talk Tampa Bay Bucks with us. But I don't think, Mark, of all the people, okay, when you combine everything, availability, just everything, you've been awesome. You have no idea. You have to deal with your issues. We have to deal with our issues. Let me tell you, there is no better radio guest friend than Roy Cummings. I will tell you that. If that means anything at all to you.
Well,
okay,
it means
you're at the top of the list.
The world, because let me tell you guys, there is no better radio host tandem than Mark and David Moulton. You guys have been so good to me always. When I say at the end of every show, anytime for you guys, I mean it. And you guys have been so good to me. I don't know how you ever found me in the first place. Probably a random selection from the bottom of the barrel, and somehow it all worked out. Hey, guys, anniversary. Yeah, it's been a wonderful marriage, and I have enjoyed every moment of being a part of your show. I just hope I brought something of value to the listeners, because that's all I ever wanted to do. And you guys you're absolute. You're like brothers to me.
Really appreciate that, Roy, and you bring a lot to the table. There's no doubt. I am curious on that note, because obviously when we first started, it was a different world media-wise. There were more of us, and as life's gone on, there have been less and less media people at local levels. At local TV news is pretty much dead for sports. Newspapers have died. I mean, there's so much that's different than when we started. That's all a negative. And when you were in it every day, you can't be a fan. I think I've noticed from you, Roy, and maybe I just didn't pay attention before, but whether it's your love of the Cubs or the Blackhawks or the Tigers and the teams that, because you did some work in Lakeland when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Are you more the fan you were before you got in the business today than maybe you were 15 years ago?
I am more the fan today, because I'm a little bit separated from it now. It's not a day-to-day thing for me anymore. I still follow everything religiously, but I am more of a fan. I mean, being away from it a little bit has allowed me to be a fan again. I never lost my fandom for the Cubs or the Blackhawks, no matter what. If I was covering the Lightning, there was still a lot of Blackhawks in me, rooting for them, pulling for them. Same with the Cubs, never lost my fandom for them. As for the Buccaneers, it was a job. So I was, you go way back when I first came to Florida, my family were season ticket holders for the Buccaneers. And when I started covering the Lightning, I lost complete track of them. And I never thought that would happen. And so I lost complete track of the Buccaneers for 10 years covering the Lightning. And then I got thrown back onto that beat. And as much as I went kicking and screaming into that assignment, it turned out to be the best thing for me. But at the end of the day, it was hard. I always continued to just root for the best story. Sometimes that was a loss. Sometimes that was a victory. That's what keeps you from being, a fan in print. I pulled for people. I pulled for good people. Bad people I didn't pull for, but good people, you always pull for them to do well. And that's kind of how I went about it. But, I hope it all came through objectively, at least in print and on radio and TV as well.
How much do you think that matters to the athlete? Because they form their opinions about their coaches or maybe even the star players they have to sit behind on the pyramid of the locker room. And how important is that really? Okay, that, the leaders of the team are not jerks.
Yeah, it's very important. I think, the leaders especially, in order to get the information you really need to break news, and it's hard to break news anymore, but back in the day you did. And in order to get that, you have to develop a very good relationship with a lot of people from the very top to the very bottom. And, doing that requires you to be almost like a friend with someone, but you got to remember, you got to remind them oftentimes, hey, this is an arm's length relationship. I need something from you. It doesn't mean you get something back from me all the time. And but I do think the players respect it. The ones who understand the role of the media do. And I'll say this, in both the NHL and the NFL in particular, and I think Major League Baseball's changed in this way too, I think there's a better job of letting the players know exactly what the media's role is. In the NHL, the thing I loved about it the most was that it was like we were all pulling on the same rope together. We were all trying to make sure that team somehow came to life for the fans and the community. And so you felt like you were a part of something really important there. The NFL didn't need the media, but it does. Sometimes it doesn't realize that. Major League Baseball doesn't need the media, but it does. And when they realize it does, you get, those players who do, they treat you with a great deal more respect. And that's a great thing.
Thinking about it, we probably know some of the same guys because I spent time working for the Lightning's top affiliate. That's how I broke into the business, working for the Atlanta Knights. And some of our front office people like Jeff Miranda ended up doing tickets for the Lightning and was a brilliant ticket sales manager that helped that team. But, obviously you've been in Florida a long time. You worked in Lakeland as a kid. You just said you were a Bucs season ticket holders. You covered. So you've seen the Bucs come to Tampa. You've seen the Lightning. You've seen the Rays all come. Is the Lightning the biggest surprise? Because the one thing I noticed, having spent 3 months in Tampa, and obviously they're really good and they've won championships, but they are entrenched in that community. It's one thing for a team to be a town to be an NFL city. And I don't know if when the Rays get their stadium built, I think that happens for them. I have a strong feeling seeing how downtown Tampa is flourishing now and just how much of a pain in the ass it is to get to St. Pete, why I wouldn't go if I lived in a northern Tampa suburb to a game on a weeknight ever.
Yeah.
I think if it's downtown, that changes immensely. But the Lightning they're really a remarkable story because it's not just a team in Florida. And say what you want about the Panthers, but, they didn't go until they won. The Lightning, I remember when my now wife and I were dating and I took her she's a Pittsburgh girl. We went to a Penguins game and she's like, oh my God, they're all wearing jerseys. They're all into this. She was stuck. She goes, it reminds me of being at home. that story is impressive to me, Roy. It's got to be to you as well.
It is. And I'll say this. I don't think so much credit has to go to Phil Esposito and his vision. I mean, he put this thing together literally on a wing and a prayer. He sold a bunch of Japanese investors on this idea of, of supporting, financially backing a hockey team in the state of Florida, where at first they could barely keep the ice cold enough to skate on, literally. But through his connections, he made it work. And yes, what he tapped into, I don't even think he realized it at the time. I'm not even sure he knew that, as you just said, Mark, that feeling of you're bringing something back from my childhood, from my time back home, whether, that is what made this work. Because I remember so many people, my family, for example, we would go, if we were lucky, we'd get to 2 Blackhawks games a year, and we sat in the second balcony of Chicago Stadium. When the Lightning came, my mom and dad became season ticket holders. And it's not like they had a lot of money to afford it, but that's what they were going to, because this brought back, that thrill for them. And it was like that for so many people. And then the team got good and it caught on. And, it's Phyllis Esposito used to say, if you just go to one hockey game, you'll get hooked. And people did. They understood it. And I say it today to anybody who doesn't get the game. You go to one game and you'll be hooked. And yeah, so I am a bit surprised, but he tapped into something. He tapped into a nostalgia, and it's never let go, and it never will.
Roy, we'll have about 2 minutes. The Baker Mayfield level of concern. He says once training camp starts, that's it. I'm done talking. I've always thought that, no offense, you do what we tell you to opening day. Okay, that's me. The Baker Mayfield contract story, where is it to you?
I think it gets done in Baker Mayfield's favor, because I think it has to get done in Baker Mayfield's favor.
Well, what's that, 5 days?
Well, no, maybe not. Look, I don't think it's going to get done in 5 days, but I think it gets done, hopefully before the season starts, because it has to. Because you can't have this hanging over your head if you're the Buccaneers. You owe it to Baker Mayfield. You got to the playoffs the last 2-3 times because of him. If you didn't get there last year, it wasn't his fault. He was beat up. And look what he gave you, as beat up as he was. His shoulder hurt. His biceps hurt. He couldn't throw the ball as effectively. His knees hurt, both of them. He was virtually crippled, yet he went out there every day and played Baker Mayfield football. You could barely tell that he was hurt. And that's how great he is. I think this team owes it to Baker Mayfield. It's the going price for a quarterback. Pay it, or you're going to really regret it. You don't have another option. And if you think you're going to be able to manipulate the draft and bring in some top 5 draft pick as your next quarterback, well, just look at how things started in Chicago. Look at how things have gone with so many teams who thought they went that way. Look at how it worked for the Bucs with Jameis Winston. You've got to take advantage of the opportunity you have right now to sign Baker Mayfield and keep him as part of your team, because he is the glue. He is the biggest piece you have, and you got to sign him, got to keep him.
He's Roy Cummings. He's been joining us for 20 years as we've been together, 21, 22, going back when David and I were both solo. He has been more than a friend of the show. He's been a friend. Roy, thank you for everything.
Love you, brothers. Take care.
Roy Cummings on Miller and Moulton. As our anniversary show continues, we will talk with Seth Everett coming up, Gary Danielson at the bottom of the hour. 20 years. How about that? Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com. Thanks so much for listening.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. floormeisters.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Hello, Seth.
Hi.
Look at that Sonic stuff. That's fantastic.
I sleep in this.
Like my daughter in her hoodies. Lives in
Tried
Florida.
to think of something that would be funny.
Lives in Florida, and she wears hoodies all the time. We went to the grocery store. I think we were coming out of Costco, and you could tell it was a family from I think they were German, but because they weren't speaking English, I'm pretty sure they were speaking German. They were far enough away, but it wasn't Spanish. And they're staring at her because it's 95 degrees out, and she's got a hoodie on. I'm going, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Gotta wear your hoodie. You're a kid.
Yeah, my kids wear weird stuff too. But you know what? They're not here. Hey, man.
Hey, man.
Mazel tov.
Is that an NBA like starter jacket?
It's like the warm-up thing. I can tell you why I have this.
Oh, yeah. Didn't you say that you're going to work the Syracuse-Seton Hall game or something like that?
Yeah. I watched it last night. I saw it.
How many people were there?
Oh, it was packed. It was the
Really?
it wasn't at the Dome. It was at the Crunch Arena, the Syracuse Crunch Arena, the On Center. And it was packed, and Boeheim was there, and Jerry McNamara and Carmelo was there, and it was a big Orange Love Fest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So how many? What's capacity roughly?
I want to say 6.
Wow, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people for a bunch of
schlub. Yeah, a bunch of men. You see what I did on Instagram? I said, "Let's go older orange."
I'm not an Instagram guy. No. That's a flaw of mine. I did Facebook, and I put some updates about me when things were going on, but I never really, and I need to because for the show, not really for me.
Funny. Yeah, no, just tried to be funny. It's stupid. It's fun. Like Tyus Nichols was there. Eric Devendorf at 39 was playing. What's his face? Buddy Boeheim knocking down some threes. Cole Swider, just a bunch of random, businessmen.
Right.
Isaiah Whitehead for Seton Hall.
Basically, the Gus Macker of college basketball.
They play Kentucky on Sunday at 2:00 on Fox Sports 1. I'm in.
Is it full court? I'm not being a jerk. I'm not watching.
No. It's full court, and now it's single elimination. The first round is best of 3, and then then you make the semifinals, and then the final is on August 2nd. It's a very small little event, and I love that Fox airs all the games. It's genius. For the week after the World Cup, it's like a perfect distraction.
Hey, I mean, I had to laugh. You know, we do our like starting five thing, and when David wasn't here, yesterday, because I think it was yesterday, I'm like, there were 6 games in the WNBA, and I'll tell you about one of them. You know, I mean, because I you know, and it was only because Caitlin Clark got another T, and she and Angel Reese are tied with T's, and I found that to be an interesting stat.
Right.
The world hates one and loves the other.
Yeah, and you know, I don't begrudge any of those sports. I'm not drawn to them.
I'm the same way. If you want to watch the WNBA, knock yourself out. They're getting ratings.
I like that it exists. I've tried to introduce it to my daughters. They could care less.
Yeah, I would, you know, I hope one day that my daughter will go to a hockey game with me. She likes the fights. She likes the atmosphere at a game. She'll go to a baseball game with me. To watch a sport.
Kicking and screaming.
No, we went to a Rays Tigers game. She had a ball, sitting in the stands, having a bite to eat. She thought it was fun. But to watch it, nah, never happened. Never happened.
Speaking of your anniversary,
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
I hope you're not finding it obnoxious in any way that we're wishing ourselves a happy anniversary, but we're proud of the show and the fact that today makes 20 years that we've been lucky enough to be able to do this for a living. And now we're on in 5-6 markets throughout Florida and northern Alabama, hoping to get to other places. I think we're also in Connecticut and on a Army radio network, and we're proud of what we've done, but we know we wouldn't have a show without all of you. So we've gone down, memory lane a little bit, but I hope more of you are finding it to your liking than to your discouragement.
And as we've always said, if it's to your discouragement, it's really easy to change the channel.
And it's free.
It's harder on Twitch these days.
Is it? Is it harder to switch off?
Like quitting the gym.
Wait a minute. You're saying that's hard? No. What's hard is getting them to go to Twitch. Okay. Hell, I mean, if the gym can get you in the doors, the guilt of what you're paying may keep you there. But it doesn't matter if the gym's worth a damn.
And I was worried I wasn't going to think of anything funny for you guys.
He's Seth Everett. He's been with us for damn near the whole 20. We found Seth when he was working for MLB. And since then, he's had a couple of different stops. And now kind of, I would say, on his own. I mean, he does a lot of work in a lot of places, still works in the sports world. The 2 podcasts by now, you know him, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice. He's a professor. He's a collegiate professor now, which is pretty. I mean, he's the only regular professor we have on our show, so I think that's a big deal. If influencing the young minds at Syracuse, and where else are you at?
Montclair State, and I start in the spring. I start at Fairleigh Dickinson.
You know what I just realized that I should compliment you about is for all that you have done in education, for all that you're about to do in education, that you don't look like a stereotypical professor. You don't. Okay. Now, my apologies to what my stereotypical professor at a college should look like, but you look cooler than that. You look like that's the teacher we should go have a beer with.
There's a new TV show, guys, on HBO Max called Rooster with Steve Carell.
Yep, I'm aware of it.
That's what I want my life to be. I want to be Rooster. That's what it is. Rooster is about an author. I'm not an author, but he's an author, And he wrote a bunch of books, and all of a sudden the dean of a college convinces him to take a stewardship and be a teacher. And so because he wants to be closer to his daughter who teaches at the college, he decides to teach at the college. That's the plot of the show. And that's all I want. I just want to be a full-time teacher, but be the guy that all the students want to take the class and treat you like an adult and all that stuff. The hijinks can come. I want to have an office. I think that would be amazing.
So you don't you do not yet have an office at any of these colleges?
No. You got to be full time at a college. I teach at a bunch of places, but part time. So I get the riffraff adjunct lounge.
I guess because I went
looks like a DMV office.
Because I went to a Jesuit college. Okay, that we would always gather around when we're underage drinking and going, so if we're going to underage drink with, who would be the best priests? Okay, if we're going to get in trouble, who do you think would be the best guys to spend 3-4 hours with? And we were able to, as we became upperclassmen, where it was okay with this one establishment where like the 4 of us and the 3 of the Jesuits, and we had like our Friday lunch date, and we would just come to our table and sit there, and we did that for a couple of years. I always thought that was so cool. I'm like, hey, I know I'm not going to amount to much in life, but I had lunch with the priests, okay? Okay, and they made sure they would tell people, don't sit there, my guy's coming. I was one of the guys.
What, from a teaching standpoint, and I know you said, I remember you saying you ended up teaching, having a kid in a class who you knew their parents from high school or something.
I dated the mom. Yeah.
Yeah, you dated the mom, right? So
don't yada yada over the best part.
Yeah, I did. The bisque was great. Did you? Well, give me another. I mean, have you had any other student? Like, do you have students that find it cool and stay after class? I mean, what's been the big parts of teaching? Because we've talked sports with you in the podcast and all that. I am curious because I was one of those guys that, for the most part, you looked at teachers like, I don't want to be near them. And every once in a while, you would get that cool teacher. I'm guessing you're the cool teacher.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of fun, and the class. A lot of times, people will stay after, and they just want to pick my brain about something, or they ask a question. A lot of times, what I will do is, if I'm going to a Devils game, whether it's with my kids or not, or just with a media pass or whatever, I'll tell them, and I say that if you message me on through the school, I'll meet. And so what we've had meetups, like we'll say meet behind section 21 or whatever it is. And 2 or 3 students will come and hang out, and we'll spend like a good intermission just shooting the bull and talking about stuff, and that's a lot of fun. I find that rewarding because I walk into it, and I've been in broadcasting for like you guys 26 years or whatever, and I don't find the same satisfaction. The dopamine rush when I walk out of class is so remarkable that it makes logical sense that I would pursue that full time. But before we digress, because I don't know how much time I have, I just want to say to both of you guys, congratulations on 20 years. I have said this all along. When I first got to know you, I couldn't understand why you guys were only in Fort Myers. I remember telling you both that. And over the years, the friendship has developed. I just remember when I was doing your show in the very, very beginning, I was doing a bunch of shows. I was doing Fox Sports Radio and all that other nonsense. And some of the minutia that I would be asked by people all over the place. And the two of you just had such insightful segments. Not this one, but most of the ideas. Yeah, I was always so impressed. And I always looked forward to coming on with you guys, and I never wanted it to stop, and you guys didn't want it to stop, and I'm so thrilled that we've got the longevity now because we're all getting old. But the reality is I think you guys are two bona fide icons, and I have said that to your face. I've said that about you guys. I've said it on my podcast, and I'll mean it from the bottom of my heart. You guys are legit icons, and congratulations.
Wow. Now I'm going to have to look up the definition of an icon, especially since icon has a bit in parenthesis on most days, but not today.
Well,
I feel more like an emoji than an icon, but that's all right. And I'm trying to figure out which emoji, and usually it's that big pile of dung, but that's a whole nother story.
Congratulations to those two emojis.
Right. But if we could come up with the one that prints money, that's the one that we're looking for. Hey, thanks for literally always being there. You have probably done 20 years, 20 plus shows on average a week. You've appeared on this show well over 1,000 times,
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. We're the ones doing the show. I mean,
well, 52 weeks a year. If you're going to do 15.
Yeah, about 1,000. I mean, that's
close.
Close. Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Well, I guess I just got to do a couple more years. So
it says a lot of things. It says we're old. That's what it does. No, seriously, Seth, thank you for everything. You've made our show better. You've angered people.
I love doing that.
And that's one of the things I love about you. You always are going to stick to who you are, and be damned if they don't agree with you. And I love that about you.
Yeah, I do like the people that hate your politics, but have grown to like your appearances on the show.
That's fine. That's good too. That's what it should be.
Yes, absolutely.
I used to never know what people, what persuasion people were, or religions they were, or political parties they were. I never knew that about people. People were just people. I did, who knew? We don't. Life is too short, and we just do things that you like, and I love coming on this show.
Well, we love having you, Seth. Thank you so much. Seth Everett, Sports with Friends, Hall of Justice, not just a friend of the show, he's a friend, and we'll hope to have him for a lot more years. Miller and Moulton.
The Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So, Dad, it's funny that you bring up Depeche Mode, because for whatever reason, I listen to First Wave a lot on Sirius, and they play a lot of Depeche Mode. And whenever I saw this TikTok guy who I thought was funny, he puts albums up from, that era to his kids and his kids' friends. And they try to say what the band name is of different bands, and that's one that's been on there. So I always ask my daughter, who's this band? And she calls them Depeche Mode. So I always find that's the first. Now when I see that band, I think Depeche Mode. And by the way, saw Henry Rollins do a TikTok about what a great album Joy Division's first album is. It is. And I'm not as familiar with that as I probably should be. I've been listening to that. It's really good. And for a unique sounding band, Sean, to me, because they sound, I mean, you know, all bands sound the same because it's the same singer, but their songs are to me eerily similar, but yet vastly different when I listen to it. It's like the sound, like you know what I mean? Their sound is the same. Their sound is their sound, but yet every song is individualistic, if that makes sense to you. I know it's a popular song by them, but Lips Like Sugar is one of my favorite all-time songs. It's a great song. It's a very like industrial type sound. I mean, it's a they're an early, I would almost, you know, they're kind of a post-punk sound. Javier, they're right. They're exactly. Well said, Sean. Well said. Don't know who that is. Huh. All right, to you guys, this is taped, but we're obviously play it as live, so you're gonna see a paused face and wonder why. But at least today we have the same clothes on, so it will look. We didn't do it. We did it this morning. Gary had something going on, so hopefully the sound is good. Thank you, guys. Wow, Irish punk with the banjo. All right, I'm muting me and flipping this over and hoping to God it sounds good.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Welcome back. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. And 20 years ago, actually longer than that, when, as been talked about a lot, Mark was doing mornings, I was doing afternoons, and Gary basically found me and Mark on his own.
Right.
And I mean, it was no big coup for Miller and Moulton separately or together, because we were on an AM station that at 5:20 in the afternoon would drop down to 5,000 watts.
That's true.
Which basically made it, Mark talked eloquently about a Wendy's a couple days ago, about how close it was to the radio station, and we could actually race out and get food and come back, and you at home wouldn't know. Okay, well, that's about how far we could be heard when Gary invited himself. And Mark, the email read, would you mind if I came into studio and talked college football with you? And obviously, Mark, where we were in the fall of 2004, you had just been let go by the Blades. You've just started doing radio where it's your show in the morning. I'm still plugging along in the afternoon. You hadn't convinced us to join forces yet. So, Mark, on a 5,000 watt AM, do you think it was a coup to have an hour? He would come in studio and take calls for an hour with the lead college football analyst at ABC Sports. Do you think we were doing okay?
Well, that's what you call a good get. And it also proves one thing. You can't play golf at that time in the afternoon.
Hi, guys. Hey, let me give you my version of it. I moved full-time to Southwest Florida. And I had done local talk radio in Detroit for years prior. Or Eli Zarrett, I know who you guys have had on a few times, started a show called The Locker Room. I don't think anybody was doing it with jocks, basically. And Eli had that idea. And we shared a 5-day week, Kirk Gibson and myself, in the afternoons. And we would each do 3 days, and we were at overlap on one day. And so when I came down here, I'm kind of a radio guy, as you can tell the way I'm dressed and where I'm at right now. I'm not big time dressed up, and I don't
think
have
the garage at 5:37 or 8:37 a.m. looks phenomenal.
This is for first two, but I heard 2 great radio shows. I'm going to say 3, okay, because I worked out at different times, but I did 3 great radio shows. Mark. And I knew he was a Detroit, Michigan guy, and then I catch David, and I did Rush in between. And that was kind of my day when I never did radio. It was Miller, or it was Moulton, or it was Rush Limbaugh. And that basically, if I was riding my bike or working out or doing things, that's what I did. And really, the garage is fitting for me, and the call in to ask to be on, because that's how I called into the NFL to get a chance to play. And that's how I called in to the ESPN to get a job. Nobody was asking for me to be on ESPN. And so I called into your show. But you guys are great at what you do. I recognized it right away. And I really think you have one of the top sports shows in all of the country. And you're going to get bigger and better, you two guys. Just keep plugging away. That's how it always works.
Well, that's what we've been doing. There's no doubt. And I'm curious, not to get, I know we can talk about the stuff we did with us, but what was Gibby like to work with? Because
that's a great question.
He was a gruff guy. I remember as a kid, he was my favorite football player, not baseball player. He played, slot back for Michigan State. And he was tremendous, and he had great speed, and they used to run a double reverse. And I remember Gibby getting the ball, seemingly 10 yards behind scrimmage and damn near getting tackled every time and breaking free and making big plays. So he was such a big physical guy, and he had that gruff persona, especially back then. I'm curious what he was like to work with.
Totally the opposite. I was surprised too, Mark, because obviously, Gibby, I heard you the other day, like you had 2 of your all-time Detroit favorites on, Ernie Harwell. Who was it? Was it Gibby? Was it Eiserman? Who was the other?
I was talking about Eiserman. We never had Eiserman, but I was talking about Eiserman. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, Gibby is an icon, not only just in Detroit, but he really is an icon. And I knew him as the tough leader that would challenge guys in the locker room in intensity. Totally the opposite. Well prepared, very interested in the minor details of every call, very polite, intense. He would get intense, but I just way more detailed of a person, very, very smart, great businessman. And I really enjoyed my 2-3 years. We actually did the 11:30 Sunday night show together, the 3 of us, the locker room on NBC in Detroit. So it was fun times, but it became, when I moved down here, I couldn't do it anymore. It was the equipment now that you can do, it probably could be done, but back then it was almost impossible to do.
Gary Danielson joining us 20 plus years after he first joined us. As this day we celebrate 20 years, over 2,000 Miller and Moulton shows.
Wow. How many hours is that?
Actually,
8,000 hours.
Oh boy.
Thereabouts, because there was a run we did 3 hours when life was easier. But yeah.
Yeah. And then you got to subtract all the time when nothing worked, where you guys were trying to get things going.
No. If we
it's
were
like
both
extra
on
time in soccer, you got to subtract.
No, it all counts, because if you're there, it counts. So we were there, it counts.
Well, can I also tell you that is true? I did invite myself on the show because you guys were good, and I thought it would be good for me to be in the area and get connected a little bit. But and I know you guys have told this story, but probably, and I don't know if all your listeners realize, maybe the most turning moment in college football history was you guys were a major part of when we went over in detail why Florida should go to the national championship when only two teams went instead of Michigan. And since then I've never been able to go back to Michigan, but we were right about that when we did it. And without that, I don't know if SEC makes that 13-18 run without that day in your guys' office that day when we went through it.
It was remarkable. Gary used to come in. It's Miller and Moulton, has been for, well, the funny thing is, Gary, we had been a show for about 4 months because they teamed us together. If today's our 20th anniversary, they teamed us together in late July. And so when you're coming in, and I guess maybe it's close to 5 months, we've been a show for 5 months. Now, obviously,
Right.
we've both done media, but we'd been a show for 5 months. And ladies and gentlemen, now think of Gary's stature as a broadcaster in college football. He's still coming on this rinky-dink show. Okay, someday we will be doing a show from that studio, and it will actually air on an FM, but we're not there yet. Okay, and Gary comes in with a notepad. Okay, and he says,
Yellow
I got
legal, man. Yellow legal, right, Mark? That's what we do.
Absolutely.
That's the way
And
we
he
do
says,
things.
I got some questions for you. And he puts us on the defensive, like we're the college football committee. How would you vote? And he's got USC, Florida, and Michigan schedules lined up. And then he just said to us, I know it's not likely, but what if USC loses to UCLA? It is a rivalry game after all. And none of the national talking heads, nobody was thinking of that as a possibility. And what really was the hammer was we literally go on ESPN.com while live on the air. And Gary's like challenging us, like we're representing ESPN. And he goes, I think I went onto their site and they're asking who should play for the national championship. And the two choices are Michigan or USC.
Right.
So does that mean Florida has no chance at all? That if USC loses, Florida's out and Michigan's in? And Gary on air says, I got to admit, if I was the SEC, it's one of our partners. That's not a nice way to treat your partner. We don't even have a possibility. Well, that got out. And next calls were made to Bristol, and 24 hours later, we joked we should have Gary back because now suddenly Florida's on the website. Okay. And obviously, people started talking about the possibility. And when it happened, as we all know, all hell broke loose. But it started with a legal pad in a studio.
Well, and I used to always laugh because for those that don't know, we're all friends. But Gary and David are friends who worked together for 20 years side by side, drove all over the Southeast in rental cars, for crying out loud, and a bus and an RV for a while. So they've shared a lot over the years. And I say that because when Gary would come in, I always found this funny. And because Gary and I are both from Michigan. And I think Gary's always believed we have some similar thoughts just because of how we grew up. And so Gary would be, whether it was discussing something with us or arguing a point with David, he would look at me when he's in the studio and go, Mark, you know what I mean, right?
Right.
Well, listen, this is about you guys, and I'm just proud to be a part of it. And, it's good. You guys provide good talk, sane commentary about what's going on, and I kind of admire that. That's the way I like to listen to it. And it's fun to be a part of. And, listen, I've worked hard my whole life. Not bad. I wasn't a superstar, but 13 years in the NFL, 36 years of a broadcaster, but I'm still doing my stuff from my garage. There's a little bit of humbleness for all of us, and it's good to, that, by the way, that was one of Gibby's major sayings that I stole. He talked about football. But he said baseball, you had to learn to be humbled. Oh, because you can't get a hit, like every time up, and that was his hardest thing. Baseball teaches a lot about life. You have to be patient. You have to be ready, and most of all, you have to be ready not to succeed all the time and how to handle that. And he said for a football player, that's really difficult, and I really took that to heart. You have to, it's good to be humbled. And I've been humbled bad and tough. It's hard sometimes, but if you have a lot of confidence in yourself, and I think you guys are typical of that with your radio show, you just keep finding a way to keep being relevant and keep moving forward and not let the naysayers, and there's a lot of them, drive your car. And I'm proud of you both.
Thank you, Gary.
I'm sure Gibby was asked at one point in time about, playing baseball versus if he,
yeah.
Because Dion, he's the only other prominent, and Bo Jackson, and there's so few that were talented enough to do both. But, Dion always gave the impressions that, I might have made more money by choosing the football route because the image and all that. And I was on, all those winning Super Bowl teams. But he would always turn to the camera and be like, but, I married football, but my true love was baseball.
Yeah. I always got I'm pretty witty myself. And we once had my favorite Gibby story, and he would pound on me all the time, but he's a great guy. We had Ronnie Lott on, and I was the fourth wheel of a Eli Zarrett, who knows baseball really well, Gibby, and then Ronnie Lott love fest between you're the toughest, greatest guy ever. Then Gibby, you are the toughest, greatest guy ever. And I'm just sitting there, and he tells the story about Gibby just keeps grinding him about, you cut off your finger to play, everything like that, the tip of his finger, and they go through the whole thing. No, you played with one leg and hit the home run home, and I go. I said, only thing I could say, Ronnie, it's a good thing you didn't have a groin injury. That's all I'm going to say. Because then that would be something. I go, if you played with that, you cut that one off, you're a man. I go,
that type of day. Now, who knows?
Exactly.
It seemed fitting to how could we do some kind of celebratory show and not have Gary on, our most prominent guest for a very long time. Gary, I think I can speak on behalf of Mark and say thank you for all you gave us.
I appreciate it. You guys are great. You're still the best listen in any radio sports show, and it coming soon. The big one's coming soon for you guys. I know it, but I'll tell you what, enjoy what you're doing. And I know you are. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Gary. Gary Danielson, Miller and Moulton, 20 years on the air. A little celebratory show today. Glad David's back in the saddle. Glad we're able to do this. Gary, keep hitting them straight. As my dad would say, fairways and greens, occasional condos. Miller and Moulton here on our 20th anniversary show. Thank you so much for listening.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. repair. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine, no more snoring, no more tossing, no more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and
The
sound.
Floormeisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floormeisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in, 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real. If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or
This is Miller and Moulton.
started our show 8.
Love you very much.
The Floormeisters. I want the Floormeisters. Just
No, because I don't know how.
Stan just texted me. Did he text you?
He doesn't have my number.
Well, I recognize the number, but it's not like I've ever texted with him before. But I knew that was his house number back in the day.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the final hour of Miller and Moulton on our 20th anniversary show. They put us together on a Monday, July 24th, back in 2006. And they said, go for it. And we said, what'd you say? They said, knock yourselves out. For what?
Did they really say that, or did they just say whatever? Because this, and we've told this, and I jokingly, when David texted me, said, who do you want to get Friday? And I gave him a list of real people. And then I followed that up with two people that fired us. And the person who worked at the first station when we joined forces, who in the press conference was, I don't know, the director of marketing. I mean, he was useless. I'm sorry. He was then. I don't know what he does now. Whatever. He wasn't very good at what he did. He just kissed the right ass to have a job. And you know how much Miller and Moulton smooch butt.
Right.
We get along with people like that really well.
Swimmingly.
And in the press release, they didn't get a quote from us. They didn't ask us for a quote. They didn't ask anybody. The marketing director who wrote the press release put in his quote.
Right.
We think they will be somewhat successful. Not only did we outlive him at that company, hell, we outlived the company in this market.
Yes, we did. But we think they have a chance.
Yes. To be somewhat successful.
And I remember, looking at that all those years. So they're not willing to stick their neck out and be somewhat successful. We think they have a 50% chance to be 50% successful.
What is the definition of somewhat successful? Because that is jumbo shrimp in a way.
But what's
you're either
a chance?
Successful or you're not.
Right. I mean, what's a chance?
50,
what
50.
is right.
At best.
Somewhat successful do you have to be over 50% to be successful? I think you do. So I think they gave us a 50% chance to be 50 to 60% successful. I don't know. 20 years? Did we outlive the expectations? We'll see. But we'd like to thank you, the listener. And we've been fortunate that we've added over the years the Tampa St. Pete market. Okay. We've added a full-time station in Charlotte, Punta Gorda, Venice. Okay. Jacksonville, Live Oak, Lake City. Okay. Absolutely thrilled. Hell, we're even outside the state in a few places. And, we've shaken our heads in some instances as to what has happened to the show, and we've also shaken our heads at what didn't happen that could have happened and or should have happened.
And yet we're still chugging along, praying we get a few more sponsors so we can keep the little engine that could going. David, I used my best friend lately to find out the definition of somewhat successful. That, of course, is ChatGPT.
Oh.
I typed in, how would you define the quote? And then I put in quotes, we think they have the chance to be somewhat successful. Here's the answer I got. The phrase, we think they have a chance to be somewhat successful, is a very cautious, qualified statement. It communicates limited confidence rather than strong belief. Breaking it down, we think this is an option, not a certainty. They have a chance. Success is possible, but far from guaranteed. Somewhat successful. Even if they do succeed, the expectation is only moderate success, not outstanding or major success.
Is this kind of like what Fox TV and the CW was like at the very beginning when they were like trying to reach advertisers? Is this kind of, where Rupert Murdoch and gang were, because it seems kind of like.
I think it's CW. I don't even think it's Fox.
Well, remember, Fox started, they didn't have the NFL yet.
No, I know.
I mean, it was get the NFL or go out of business.
But put it this way, they got the NFL, CW got Live. It then breaks it down, David. Overall, it implies something like, we believe there's a possibility they'll achieve a modest level of success, but we're not highly confident they'll be very successful.
Right.
Then it breaks down similar statements to put this one where it ranks on the list, and out of 6, it's 4. So, yeah, David, it's really less than a 50% chance.
Thank you.
It's less. There's no doubt. I do want to say, because I've not answered all of them, to those of you who have texted the show today and offered well wishes and obviously wishing us more than just success on the show, but with what's going on in both of our lives, it is greatly appreciated. We thank you for your good vibes, your prayers, and all the other things you're offering. They do not go unnoticed. They are very important to both of us. So thank you for all of that. We definitely appreciate it. And we certainly appreciate all the great guests that came on today. It's been a lot of fun to do some, not interviews, if you will, to have some conversations as opposed to, grilling Roy about who the left tackle is going to be in the event that someone's hurt. You know what I mean? So it's fun to get a little bit more, I think, for you guys as well, to learn a little bit more about whether it's Jeff Cameron or Seth Everett or Roy Cummings, because they are all, not only did we get some regular guests on that come on the show, but we tried to pick some people that we consider friends, that have been not only good to us on the show, but that are just good people. And I don't know if we always qualify as that, but they certainly do.
Somewhat? Can we throw somewhat?
I think we're better now than we were when we started.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, we're a long way from a 3-iron to the back of a car. We have come a long way. I will say that. We do have a teacher who listens to the show who now wants to include the phrase somewhat successful on one of the kids' report cards. Do you understand the parent-teacher conference you're going to have if you do that? You could have gotten away with that, in the early 2000s. I don't think you can get away with that today.
And all I have in my head are the parent-teacher conference nights in the 70s and early 80s. And, I don't think that's allowed in most states anymore.
No. And I was always able, and I've said that, like, your mom worked in the education department. She was a nurse for a school. So you couldn't con your mom about school crap.
In fact, the way they used to go is I would walk in, Mark. My mother would walk in behind me and go, I'm David's mother. You can say and do anything to him that you want. I'll get the scouting report. I will handle it at home. And she would leave, and I would sit in the chair and assume the role of the parent. But my mom's sitting right outside the door hearing everything that's being said. So she's also using this as a test of how honest her son's going to be. And you were saying with your mom.
Well, I conned my parents. My parents may have gone to one parent-teacher conference in my life. Because by about, I had bad grades until the 5th grade. I just didn't give a damn about school. And there were a lot of the, this is back in the satisfactory, unsatisfactory days when it came to the citizenship grade that would be on the report card. And there were a lot of U's, a lot of talks too much in class, things that you would, not be surprised at all to hear. And then in 5th grade, there was a letter in the report card. And when my mother tells the story, she opened, it was in it, the report card was in a sealed envelope and the kid couldn't open it. So you didn't know what was on it and you had to get it signed to bring back to school. And my mother opened it and she saw a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper in there. And she thought, oh, dear God, what did he do this time? And it was the honor roll. And from that moment forward, I got good grades. And they just left me. My dad didn't want to be bothered with that stuff. He had no interest in talking to a teacher. None. He wanted to come home from a long day at the factory and read his newspaper, watch the news, and and call it a day. So
have a Pabst Blue Ribbon or a Schlitz or something. Come on.
Right. Miller Lite from the day it started. But the only time my father had to come to school is that in high school, I received so many detentions for dress code violations because I went to a Catholic school and you had to have your shirt tucked in. And I just didn't care anymore. I was already accepted at Michigan State. And I'm like, yeah, to hell with all of you. I had a job. I played sports. I didn't care. Thought I was king. And so I just would throw my detentions for dress code away. And after about, 20 some odd detentions, it was either come in on a Saturday or not graduate. Well, I had to do Saturday. And our vice principal was from Guatemala, I think. Manuel Brenes was the guy's name. And my parents had to come in. And my dad undressed him and used language that I don't think that man had ever heard before about bringing me in for dress code violations and ruining his Saturday. And he let out a tirade of expletives at this guy for 60 seconds, walked out of the room, looked at me and said, tuck in your blanket shirt, and left. That was the last time. That was the only time my father was ever at a quote unquote parent teacher conference because he was forced. So I got away with it. You didn't get away with it. You had the shoe, the spoon, the clog. I mean, you had things coming at you.
Yeah. In fact, I took pride in the fact that I did 13 years of organized education with like 10 days off. So I averaged less than missing a day of school a year. That was like my, they don't give any awards for that, but with a nurse for a mother during that time, I thought that was pretty impressive. Missing less than a day of school, basically that was my Marge Schott award. The whole joke about, well, we have to, he's available as a free agent. We have to get him. Why? Well, he shows up for school every day. Yeah, doesn't everybody?
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web, It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller and Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller and Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller and Moulton.
So this is really only for Javier, but I will share with, I have to share it with everybody. But Javier, I'm doing well here because I've got the daughter making breakfast for me. And not only did she make breakfast this morning, but she walked upstairs and said, "Dad, we're out of bacon grease." God bless her. Because she knows to cook the scrambled eggs in bacon grease. We don't use butter. We use grease in this house.
Well, some things, you know how successful you've already been as a parent.
Yeah.
Okay, then you're like, there's still 2 or 3 more things I gotta go, but I am, I'm winning.
It's so funny. It's so funny. I kind of moved in with Eve, but Nancy didn't know when I was out of one house and redoing my next house. I kind of had nowhere to live I just use ramekins. So I had nowhere really to live. And so I had no fridge, and I moved all the stuff that I needed to keep in my fridge to Eve's house. And I actually keep the bacon grease in the fridge. I know you don't have to, but I do. And her mom was down visiting. So I'm basically living in this house I'm redoing that's got no AC. I mean, it's got AC, but I mean, there's no, it's a train wreck because I'm redoing everything myself, basically. And floors are torn up, etc. So her mom looks in the fridge and she's like, what is this? And it was a ramekin full of bacon grease. He's like, that's Mark's bacon grease. And now I will say, because her mom grew up without a lot of money and grew up in Mount Washington in Pittsburgh, which is now a ritzy area, but back then it wasn't. That it reminded her, she goes, oh, yeah, we used to keep when I was young, my mom would always keep that. And it's like, but yeah.
Just Scott, I will say a few people have reached out who, we haven't talked in a while today, and very appreciative of that. I'm sure you're getting it on your end as well, Mark. And one of our longtime listeners and radio friends, for the most part, he just reached out and wished us both well and blah, blah, blah. And he said, wow, 20 years of Miller and Moulton. Are you two jerking my bobber?
Was one of the good phrases. We are based out of Florida, Indiana user, and thank you for joining us. Here we go. Back to live.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes after the hour. Thanks for being with us. It's a 20th anniversary show. So quick math, 365 days a year, but you got 104 days wiped off for weekends. So that takes you down to 261. How many of those do we take off a year on average? We probably worked at least 250. So I'm going to give us 250 times 10, okay, is what, 2,500?
Yep.
So then another 2,500. We've done at least 5,000 shows together.
All right.
At least.
That seems like a lot to me.
Well, it feels like a lot. Our bank accounts say it's a lot.
No, they don't. No, that's inaccurate. Our bank accounts do not say it's a lot, unless you're going by how little is in them.
There you go. I was just saying that, it's literally kept us, it's going to get us to the weekend.
There you
go. Monday is not guaranteed.
Day to day, aren't we all? But no, thank you to the listeners. You guys have been great. Appreciate all the kind words. And David, much like this show for a long time, you're getting a lot of text on your personal phone. I've gotten two. One from a very old friend, because I went to high school with, and when I mentioned the assistant principal, he nearly spit up hearing that name because he hasn't heard it in nearly 40 years. So that hit him hard, and a couple other local people.
I do know what's happened, though, and I apologize, because in some cases, like, I'm no longer on X. And so There's no way you handle the chat rooms on this show. So whether somebody's listening on Twitch or YouTube, we're in a chat room, but you handle that far more than I do. And so I feel as if I've certainly reduced ways in which people can get a hold of me.
Well, David, most everybody from the first act and the first show, when we began in the afternoons together in Southwest Florida, they have your cell phone number, because everybody has your cell phone number, and it's not changed. And this is not a lie. For whatever reason, and I guess this is because we did sales, the receptionist, who is a wonderful woman at the first place we were at, she was a great lady, worked there many years. Her name escapes me right now, but she was wonderful. I cannot say a bad word about her. She was very, very genuinely a nice person. But when you're a salesperson, you want someone to get a hold of you. So when someone would call the station, this is back before everything was automated, and someone answered the phone every call. And if they asked for you, and particularly if you were a salesperson and you weren't there, they would say, he's not in. Do you want me to give you his cell number? Because the salesperson in you can't miss that call. That could be business. The company didn't want you to miss that call. Well, they would not give personal numbers out for on-air talent. And remember, this building didn't only house our station, but it housed several others. So they wouldn't give the disc jockeys numbers. They wouldn't give any of their numbers ever. But both David and I did sales, and they never thought of us as on-air talent. Quite frankly, they thought of us as salespeople that did a radio show. And that's how we were treated. Let me rephrase that. We were bad salespeople that did a radio show.
Right.
And
they hated us on both accounts.
And we were never treated well by the sales managers there. We were disliked. No. That's a fact. I find it ironic that actually one reached out to David about me, and I'm like, the guy never liked me. I'm not sure why he's reaching out now. And so they would get, if a listener would call for David on that line, they would then just give David's cell number, and David would get random calls at 9:00 at night with things like, hey, David, we're at the bar here, and I'm trying to figure out a dispute in the 1987 game between the Twins and the Tigers. Who batted after Kent Herbeck? And he'd answer and hang up the phone. And so she would give David's number to everybody. And I do joke that literally everyone has David's cell phone number. So that's a little bit of fun that we had with that, because yes, mine was not as easily available for whatever reason. Well, there's a couple reasons. One, I was meaner than David on the air, so people didn't want my number. And not to mention, I didn't have the mental Rolodex of being able to remember everything the way one David Moulton does. So that was a little bit of the differences there. But thank you all so much for the 20 years. Appreciate it. And it has been a great ride. It really has, through the ups and downs, and the fact that we've been able to kind of take this on our own for the past couple of years now, and hoping to keep that going for a while, because as we've mentioned, this is ours now. This is, we are the boss. We've always had trouble dealing with bosses, and we've never really had trouble dealing with one another. And that's a good thing that we are now the bosses.
I was going to say, and some of the problems were of our doing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but I don't know if we're at fault in any of the journey along the last dozen years. The problems we ran into were really early, and not of our do. Early on it was, but lately some of the things that we got punished for, oh my goodness. I mean, fired because we made $350 a week. All right.
Well,
and we asked for more.
Yeah. The fun one to me, when David got fired, and I knew it was coming, because I was let go and David stayed on. And there were many of you who listened that were mad at David. And this is like yesterday when I talked about Summerall in the comment. I don't know if you caught this, David, because obviously you weren't here yesterday, but at the press conference, he chastised something about a phone going off in his presser. And he's like, I'd throw you out of my team meeting. I'd throw this podium at you. Everybody in the room laughed. And the outrage online was incredible. And someone who was in the room said, if you weren't in the room and you're outraged by this, you need to lighten up, because everybody in the room thought it was funny. Well, I say that because when I was let go, David asked me, what do you want me to do? I said, you got to keep working. You got a wife and kid. Are you kidding me?
And I said to him, I don't want to. I don't want to do this show without you. And you said something to the effect of, if I was your wife, okay, I appreciate, I'm sure Mark appreciates your fondness towards him, but you're putting him before your wife and daughter.
And hello? Yeah, exactly. So then a few months later, a newspaper in town decided to do an article on us and why I was fired, quite frankly, because we had good ratings. The show was successful, not somewhat successful.
Right.
The show was successful. And the show wasn't the same without the two. The sum is better than the parts. It truly is. I bring things to the table that David doesn't, and vice versa.
Right.
So the sum's better than the parts. That's why we've been doing this 20 years. So when they asked me what happened, I literally gave answers like I still worked there. I'm like, look, I know I can rub people the wrong way. My passion can sometimes be misconstrued as anger, and what happened, and I'm fine. Well, David pour them a new one. And
I was the one who gave the quotes as if he had been let go. Okay. And Mark was trying to be nice, and I threw fire on the grease.
David was Costanza wearing the Babe Ruth jersey, eating strawberries. Okay. And that article came out on Friday online. By Monday, well, he was gone too. Miller and Moulton.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Floor Meisters just doesn't sell Cortec and carpet. They also sell a lot of wood. And what better time than now to stop in and see the nice folks at Floor Meisters for some new hardwood for your home. With white oak wood starting at $4.99 a square foot, that makes it affordable for everyone. With 10 colors to choose from, they have a color for everyone. So stop in. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go to the web. It's floormeisters.com. Floormeisters.com. Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Michael, I don't remember the show that I did. No, I'm not aware of that. Do you remember the show you did with Colleen? Yeah, I remember my morning show. Yes, I do remember when I did a morning show. Thank you. As David said, Lori, you weren't the receptionist. You were Robert's sales assistant when we worked there.
Right. I mean,
that's what you were.
I mean, basically,
we had a different. We had a different. I can't remember her name, but we had a different lady at the front desk for many years. You filled in when she was out, is how I remember it. But you know, we all have our own memories.
But to us, also, I mean, you were much more significant of that in terms of the internal power structure. I mean, you know, think about your area. You know, I mean, you had more space than most every office. And so, yeah, not to me. You know, I walked in that building for the first time in the summer of 2004. And Mark and I,
the receptionist who I'm thinking of worked for Shane. You worked for Robert. And we all know how much Robert loves me.
And Mark got there in like April, You got fired from the hockey
April.
in February, right? And then you got there in April?
That sounds about right.
I will go just. Can I swear right now or no?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Well, and Mark wasn't in the room because he hadn't been hired yet, but he was about to. And one of the salespeople that was just mentioned, the sales manager, Robert Hallman, says, "Well, David, you know him better than anybody. Okay, tell everybody your thoughts on Mark." And I stood up. I was stuffed in the back corner of the room for this meeting. And I stood up and I said, "Mark's an asshole, but he's really good at his job." Okay. So, and since he's not working for you, Robert's the one that needs to be worried about him. Okay. Mark will be great.
And if you mean by prototypical used car salesman, I would agree with you. Prototypical salesman, not even close. I actually think highly of those people. I'm not, don't do this. I'm having way too good of a day to start talking about people that I absolutely did not like, treated me like crap, and made my life absolutely miserable for years. Did everything they could do to try to sabotage my life.
And our show. No doubt about that. Bills fans, so are we. Now, Shipko, that's going back to the 90s. Because we went all sports September 1st of 2000. Because they decided to go 24/7 sports. So they put one of the sales guys on the morning show. He was named Tom Abraham. I was on mid-afternoon. And then in the middle, they put Neil Rogers, which is still the most amazing talk show I've ever heard.
Yeah, I love that show. I remember it was so good.
When you're in the business and you're hearing a show that you've never heard before, I mean, my mouth was wide open when I was driving down.
The stuff he said, I mean, it was, I mean, it would have made the grease man cringe, for crying out loud. Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes till we're done. It's been a celebration show of not just us, but of you. And without you, there is no us. And so we made it 20 years together today. Miller and Moulton. Started in the afternoons, did that 1 month shy of 10 full years. And then we've done every other day in the morning, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah, we started at our second spot. We did mornings, and much as you didn't want that, and hated the idea of it, I'm like, David, this is all I can do. My life's changed. I got a child I got to pick up. This is the only way this works. And as much as David has hated mornings for every day of the last 10 plus years, and he hates doing mornings. He would do anything to go back to doing afternoons. However, since he started doing the gig, not so much even with Gary, but because of the Monday Night Football gig, it actually works better for him. From traveling, it's put a wrench in traveling home, but for the most part, it's the only way David could do a show. You wouldn't be able to do afternoons.
No, I'm missing out on a few hours sleep or a few hours where I could be napping, and I may need to, because of my health and my schedule and what have you. But The other radio schedule would have had me missing the radio, which is, I've always considered my main job, no matter all the other stuff that's going on.
So we've done mornings ever since. We did a little stint again in Southwest Florida, and then we were picked up by a syndicator when the Seminole tribe won their suit with essentially the Bonita Springs dog track and their ownership, because they owned a couple other tracks, about gambling in Florida that went to the top circuit court, never made it to the Supreme Court. They wouldn't hear the case.
Right.
They lost, and the Supreme Court did not take on the case. We thought they would, and that wasn't Miller and Moulton making a dumb bet like we do on Friday. That was from smart lawyers that were guests on our show often. And when that happened, that ruined the chance for multiple gaming outlets in the state. The Seminole has the Hard Rock app is it. That's all we'll ever have, at least for the next, I think, like 25 years. I think it was like a 30-year deal, and we're several years into it. So when that happened, the syndicator dropped us, and our choice was to keep on keeping on as the owners of this show or to end it. And we took the risk, and we thank everybody who has sponsored this show, Pelican Roofing, Floor Meisters, Cape Coral Police Department, Sleep Treatment. You've been great. All the other people that have been on board, we'd love to get you back. We're trying. Glass Doctor, American Paint Supplies. We've had a ton of different sponsors over the past couple of years, and we're appreciative of all of you. We'd really like to get you back. I mean, like, really. But we understand that after a couple of years, sometimes even you have to make business decisions. And I'm well aware that things aren't as great in Southwest Florida as they were just a couple of years ago. Times are tough for a lot of folks. We understand. But we think we've got a good product. We hope that we can get people on. We're both working on it. I think maybe me, because what David has going on a little more than him. But
we got one coming on board.
I know. That's why. But I mean, I'm spending hours daily trying to keep this thing alive right now. But we're appreciative of all of you. We're appreciative of our listeners. We're appreciative of our affiliates. Tampa and Jacksonville are doing this last hour. It's an honor to be on in those markets. It truly is. Your big boy markets, that was always our goal, was to get beyond Fort Myers, Naples. Well, that's still home to me. Jacksonville's home to David. And we are honored that we've been able to take this show to other places. And for those of you who are new to the show and didn't listen before, and I know there are those of you out there in Jacksonville and Tampa, thank you very much. To our longtime listeners, we owe it all to you. It has been a tremendous 20 years. Hopeful that we keep doing it as long as we humanly can. That's the plan.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
David, here's the other crap that happened today in history. Not just the start of Miller and Moulton. Here's the rest of the junk. 1701, French trader and soldier Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac founds the trading post at Fort Pontchartrain, which later becomes the city of Detroit. David, you'll love this one. Today in 1824, in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the newspaper publishes the results of the first public opinion poll, showing a clear lead for Andrew Jackson. 1847, Brigham Young and his Mormon followers arrive in Salt Lake. They schedule a game against Utah. They win. Tennessee, the first Confederate state readmitted to the Union today in 1866. The first commercial hydroelectric power plant in the world begins generating electricity today in 1880 in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Marvin the Martian debuted today in 48. Apollo 11 returns to Earth, bringing the astronauts home safely from their trip to the moon in 1969. For your mother, David, who I hope is listening today in 1974, Death Wish, starring Charles Bronson, released in the United States.
Ooh, biggie.
Biggie for your mom. Martin resigned today in 78 with the famous line, one is a born liar and the other a convicted one, about Steinbrenner and Reggie Jackson.
Jackson was the born liar, Steinbrenner the convicted one. He was convicted of federal crimes about lying about something significant. And so even though Nixon, I believed, exonerated him, Billy Martin used it in his on-air eulogy, if you will. That's what he's in, the sunglasses. Okay. And
Today in 82, from the iconic film Rocky III, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor starts a #1 run of 6 weeks. 83, the Pine Tar game. George Brett's home run was disallowed against the Yankees. It would later be overturned. Today in 87, La Bamba was released, the movie. Big for Los Lobos, by the way. Vince Coleman would injure 3 today in 93 when he threw a cherry bomb at Dodger fans. And Saving Private Ryan, there's a toe tapper for you. That was released today in 98. I only know him from the movie Gangs of New York, but he's a real person. Bill the Butcher and Amelia Earhart would have celebrated birthdays today. Kramer, Michael Richards is 77. Wonder Woman, Linda Carter, is 75. Pats QB, Steve Grogan, is 73. Bears and Bulldog kicker Kevin Butler is 64. Karl Malone, 63. Barry Bonds, 62. Friend of the show, Nick Nurse, is 57. I think someone who was on David's list of 5 one time, Jennifer Lopez, is 57. I'm not positive there. Was she on the list?
Absolutely.
I thought so. Rick Fox, Laker and actor, 57. Bruin Patrice Bergeron is 41. The Pouncey twins are 37. Kyle Kuzma, 31. Joe Mixon, 30. And Drake London is 25 years old today.
By the way, don't you think maybe they could allow Michael Richards to work again? Has it been long enough or no?
I mean, would he? I don't know. I mean, the fact that do we hire people that are 77 anymore to do anything?
Well, that's a good point, but I'm just wondering, would anybody be turned off if they turned on something or heard that he was?
I thought he did one episode with Seinfeld on that comedians in cars.
Yes.
Having coffee. I mean, he did have him on that,
Yep.
which was great. But you're right. No, I mean, he's persona non grata. There's no doubt.
I get it. And some people become persona non grata for legit reasons. But, he was like one of the first of that era when we were starting to, just say, nope,
Yeah,
we're not interested in you anymore.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
We go to Japan for the good, where the Dehoman box, marketed as the human refrigerator, is now for sale. It's the size of a vending machine, and it fits one person at a time. Because of the heat, and there's been, heat waves everywhere, and they don't all have AC. Apparently, the box is kept at 59 degrees, and you climb inside a personal refrigerator. The Mabashi City Hall received one of the first boxes as a donation, and members of the public are allowed to use it for free during opening hours. For the bad, we go to Martin County in Florida. Damn post officer. 91 animals. I'm sorry, 92 animals. There's one more than I said. How do you see 92 and read 91? What the hell does this guy do a radio show? 92 animals from the home of a postal carrier have been reunited with their original owners after what they were described as kept in horrific conditions. One woman said she'd been looking for her cat for months, and it came true when she saw the story on the news. Apparently, Gail Gustino had been trapping cats along her mail route. She would identify cats that were loose, not feral, but cats that were loose, come back with traps, trap the cats, and bring them home. At the end, she had 92 animals in her home. Finally, the ugly. We go to Virginia, where 2 people were taken to jail after a fight between neighbors over a property line turned violent. Louis Chevalier Sr. and his wife Gail, 70 and 72, were taken into custody. They beat the crap out of their 73-year-old neighbor. The fight went from verbal to physical, involving a hammer and a leaf blower.
Wow. In Virginia, I thought it was definitely going to involve a shotgun.
Gail struck the victim in the back of the head with a leaf blower, and detectives also believe the victim's finger was bitten in the fight because the victim admitted to gouging the man's eye with his finger. He got 6 stitches and a concussion. The other 2 were taken to jail. That's the good, the bad, and the ugly. On today, 20 years of Miller and Moulton, July the 24th. Brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. New jobs, great pay, overtime, capecops.com, capecops.com.
All right. And I know, well, this sport does have a commissioner, obviously, but commissioners, for the most part, are not involved with scheduling. Is this weekend good enough for you if you're wanting to invest in Major League Baseball in some way? Is this a good enough weekend? This is the last one of July. Okay, closer to home, we got Padres at Marlins, and we got Guardians at Rays. All right. It's a first place team and a second place team. The Dodgers, they're doing the Northeast thing. They did a series with the Yankees, series with the Phillies, series with the Mets. They'll fly home. Mark, I'm serious about this. Where on the biggest games he's ever pitched in scale will Saturday's Cubs-Pirates game in Pittsburgh be for Paul Skeens?
Ooh, right now the biggest, because they're in this.
Right.
And every start he makes is critical for them, if you know what I mean.
Right. They're 4.5 games behind the Cubs, but they're only like 2.5 out of the final playoff spot. In fact, I think it's less than that. So just keep that in mind. Like, I am rooting for the final playoff spot in the National League to come down to the Marlins and the Pirates.
No one else in baseball is saying that, by the way.
No. Yankees now play 3 against the Phillies. Braves are in Baltimore. Orioles have won 8 of 10. Red Sox try to get back on the winning horse. They host Toronto. And for what it's worth, Seattle and Texas with a pretty interesting 3-game series. After all, it is for first place. So Reds and Cardinals, thought it would have meant more for the Reds, but Miller and Moulton were high on them before the season. So that obviously wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the Jays are another one. They're sellers now, too. I mean, they after getting swept by the Rays, if the Red Sox go do any damage, they got to be sellers as well. We're sellers. We're selling advertising. We're trying to keep this thing alive. David, it's been a fun 20 years, my friend. Nothing short of fantastic.
Been amazing, buddy. Unreal.
Thank you to everyone who listens to this show. Literally, we've said it. We mean it. We could not have done it without you. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Have a great weekend. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
We started our show 18 years ago and have been fired 3 times, but Miller and Moulton have never lived on the edge like we are now. We have our best morning ratings ever, are steadily adding affiliates, yet we only have a few sponsors. And if that doesn't change, we can't continue. But if you want to advertise on Miller and Moulton, reach out to one of us directly by texting sponsor to 21,000 or contact Mark on X at @MarkMiller or me at @TheDavidMoulton. You can save Miller and Moulton and make your business some serious money by texting 21,000 now. Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeister's prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. They are helping me with sleep apnea. And by helping me, I mean curing me. No more CPAP machine. No more snoring. No more tossing. No more waking up exhausted. Their expert team got me the right treatment, fast and hassle-free. If you want to feel energized and get rid of your snoring, call Sleep Treatment Direct today. 444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best. Be Cape.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at PelicanRoofingCompany.com. CCC 1332512.
If you're a business who targets men, please know there is no better and more economical way to reach your target audience than us at Miller & Moulton. So let us help you make money. You can reach out to Mark at that Mark Miller or me at the David Moulton on X, or text us at 21,000. We have a proven product, a good reputation, and lots of quality segments that we can attach your company's name to. Miller & Moulton, we're like that old pizza box. You've had the rest. Now try the best. Miller & Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
This is Miller & Moulton